there's a Colorado DSA challenger too. There's a lot of DSA challengers. There's a whole heap of them. Have I turned off only for John's stream? You don't have to turn off for my stream. You can just subscribe. You don't know me a lot. She's great. I don't. I find out about new DSA challenges every day. I have been keeping up with the a lot of like the more recent election stuff just because I've been moving. So, but I do have my apartment. She's when I did a rally with this on plan. Oh, okay. I did know you were talking about that. Yeah. I did see the stream Hasan had with the 3 people. The one with the concierge. I'm not gonna tell you. You're gonna have to keep imagining it. This SP has his nomination for defense secretary face growing scrutiny. Trump reportedly considered replacing it with Ron DeSantis, saying we need plot twist. I don't believe this, but that is hilarious if that's true. That is really funny. Hold on, I have a lot of tabs open too. Let me close all these tabs. We'll get into it. You're about to shut down elementary school, didn't you? Listen, I don't kiss and tell, but maybe. Maybe.
Sean the Black says
watching LOL. Thank you for the 2-month resubscription. Also, chat, a hype train is starting. By the way, I just want to put that out there. Wait, also, is there a discount on subs? I think Twitch said there was going to be a discount on subscriptions, 5+. And all of your subs go straight into my moving fund because, gosh darn it, our mover's expensive.
I did everything.
Wait, she's 29 years old. Dang, I feel like I've when I see young people who are actually like doing stuff, I'm like, dang, did I ruin my life? Am I wasting my life away? You see Caroline interview Taylor Lorenz on the internet censorship bills? No, I didn't see anything on Twitch. If you ask me if I saw anything, the answer is probably no. 30 under 30 is a psyop. That's what they want you to think. Saf's cozy clips to give her the 100 bits. Now a hype train has started. I
was about to go
Track
get
3
that.
Moonchild gifted a tier 1 sub to
Greta
Bitter
Thunberg is not a
Bastard.
millennial, no?
They have given 50
Isn't Greta
gift
Gen
subs
Z?
in
Am
the
I tripping?
channel.
Yeah, Greta's Gen Z. Greta's younger than I am. Oh, exactly, shaming us. Oh, I was like, hold on a second. No, I'm older than Greta Thunberg is. I'm old. I'm old. Track Moonchild, thank you for the gifted sub as well. Here.
I may like.
We'll get into some election stuff. We'll get into. If somebody has a link to Hasan's Bruce Riley interview, I know somebody dropped in a timestamp in the Discord. I'll take a look at that. I saw Rashida Tlaib's Juneteenth tweet, which W. You know, people still care about Juneteenth a little bit, kind of. What else did I have? I had a few more things. Bookmarks. Oh, JJK season 4 dropped a trailer. I do want to see that. I'm a glutton for JJK. Ow. Right. A DSA member won the Democratic primary for mayor of Washington, D.C. Kyle Klinsky said a thing. That's all on my timeline. Oh, there's like progressive victory stuff as well. And it's just me telling you that, like, I kind of called it. Or I had a Juneteenth tweet too, but that's all I saw. Oh, okay. I have to turn my Twitter DM notifications on because I literally opened up my Twitter, Instagram DMs on. Because I opened up my Instagram for the first time because I'm trying to get rid of some stuff when I move. It's not a DM from Kick. I opened up my Instagram DMs. At first, I posted a story asking if anyone wants my monitor because I can't take it with me because it's too like large. And then somebody replies to it, so I go check my replies, and right there I see a little DM from a small time politician who may or may not be the new mayor of New York City, who DM'd me earlier this month. It's not Grant Platter, right? If it was Grant Platter, that would have been hilarious. I don't even know what they DM'd me for, but it was like 2 weeks ago. I don't check my DMs. So who knows? Maybe I missed out on meeting maybe he was going to invite me to the Knicks game. He was like, hey, Sean, love your content. You should come to New York to watch the Knicks play, by the way. He's going to give you ringside tickets. Maybe it's for his Twitch stream. Oh, that would make sense. Well, no, that wouldn't make sense. Why me? You know what I mean? But do they want like advice for it? Why not? I don't know. Read it? The DM? No, I'm not doing that. I didn't reach back out. Right? I was like, yeah, I'm sorry I missed this. Have you on as a guest? That would have been cool. That's why you should always send me an email. I do look at my email. So, read it might not be too late. I mean, who knows? They had 2 guest moderators so far. The first one, the second was Adam Mockler. That's kind of funny. Be a mod. Just as you're about to move to DC, they like the socialist mayor. How do you feel about that? I was literally going to make that joke. Gosh darn it. I was literally going to make that joke. As soon as I move to DC, they get a socialist mayor. Right? A black socialist mayor. Show me. Oh yeah, how do I turn the AI summary off, bro? I don't want that. Help me out. Settings. I can cap my viewership. AI. Stream summary. No, that's not it. Bro, how do I turn it off? I know you can turn it off because I saw somebody on Twitter turn it off. I was in stream. I was there. In stream summary. So settings stream. Oh, in stream summary. Short show viewers a short text summary of what's happened so far when they join an ongoing stream. Summaries are auto-generated and may occasionally make mistakes. I don't think you can turn it off. No, you can. It's off now. Yeah, black woman socialist mayor. True. It was hilarious yesterday. Cooked you. Well, it couldn't have been hilarious yesterday because I didn't stream yesterday. So consider that. I literally hard to sub to today. True. Whiskey dude. Whiskey dog.
Whiskey_dot just subscribed. I am legally required to sub to you today.
A stream yesterday for us. Yeah. Anyway, what else is going on in my life? I'm moving still, but what was I gonna say? While I'm moving, the apartment that I'm moving to mixed up my move-in date, so I have to move in earlier, or at least start paying rent earlier than I would be otherwise. So my move-in date got moved up 2 weeks. But positive news is that my current apartment let me out my lease. I think that's the benefit of being in Los Angeles and real estate being so like sought after. Like, if they get me out, LA has provisions where they can't raise the rent more than like a few percent every year. But if they kick me out, they can raise the rent on this apartment however much they want to. So them letting me go means that they can fill the apartment sooner and then make that person pay more, which is bad for that person, obviously, F landlords, but like good for me because I don't have to pay any more rent. But that means it's very real that I'm leaving Los Angeles, and it's kind of sad, right? It's not like I went out and did much in LA anyway. Like, I didn't really live like the LA experience, but like I didn't hate it here, you know. It was a nice experience for my 20s, right? I could tell my kids about the 2 years that I moved to Los Angeles for a girl. We broke up. Right? But I was in LA, you know? So that's just how it is. Like what happened to me, moved out there for a software job, saw like 3 sites. Yeah, but it's fine. It's fine. It's show. But now I'm going to DC. And just go back for the Olympics. I'm not going back for the Olympics, bro. I don't even want to be here for the World Cup. DC, indeed. And you may be asking, yes, I did pull some strings and I did get us the socialist mayor. News. Janice Lewis George, a proud Democratic socialist, has won the Democratic Party for mayor of Washington, D.C. Congrats to Mayor-elect Janice Lewis George. I don't think she's mayor-elect. I don't think that's right. Right? Mayor-elect is when you win the general election, and that's before you take over. You're not the mayor-elect. This is like, bro, F her, whoever her opponent is. But apparently, the GOP isn't running in DC. But I want to see her campaign video. You think that she'll let me interview her for stream?
We start tonight with a breakdown. The projected winner for the Democratic nominee for mayor in Washington, D.C. is Councilwoman.
Yo, she won by a wide margin. It wasn't even particularly close.
Janice Lewis George. Good evening. I'm Michelle Marsh.
And I'm Josh Chapin. Our Washington, D.C. reporter Felicia Ashley was at Lewis George's first press
Just show her
conference.
who's in your DMs, true.
Since she became the presumed winner. Felicia, fill us in. What'd she have to say?
All right, well, essentially what we learned today is that the transition for Janice Lewis George into the executive seat has essentially already started. She says she received a call.
Oh, never mind, I guess. They were just like, here, have it, take it. Yo, F the Green Party member she's running against.
From the Attorney General and from current Mayor of D.C., Muriel Bowser, and said that the transition to the seat will be smooth.
Also, doesn't Bowser kind of suck? All I know about Bowser is that I think she spoke at the commencement for Howard this year and got booed.
It is with utmost affection and gratitude that we honor you as the oratrix on the historic occasion of our 150th
Yeah, maybe this mayor wouldn't be booed or won't be booed.
58 commencement and confer upon you the degree Doctor of Humanities honoris causa. Congratulations.
Wait, hold up. Was that an honorary doctorate? Yeah. I'm sorry. Hot take. I don't like honorary doctorates. She's a relative of the famous violent turtle warlord who has a princess kidnapping compulsion. What do you expect? True. That's even the point. Donors, right? Basically fundraising. And or to like expand your like alumni basis, right? You give your honorary doctorates to people who give a lot of money, so you encourage people to give more money, right? But also, it is basically an ad, right? It's hey, you know, you get like this celebrity chose to get an honorary doctorate from us. That means we're cool. You know, imagine debate everyone call you a doctor after getting one. I think most people don't do that. Right? Cheyenne got one from Chris Brown got one from the same university as Cheyenne Bryant. Isn't the university shut down though? I think it's silly and a kind of a slap in the face of the people who actually, you know, did the work to actually earn a doctorate. You know. Free DC is crazy. It's wild. I'm pretty sure people don't like her because she like apparently capitulates to Trump. That's what I heard. Grace College gave honorary doctorate to Glenn Close, if I remember. Year my friend graduated. Very odd, but she seemed nice. She sucks. LOL. Wow. Does she speak? Where's the booing? Dang, she's like, free DC. You know what? I'm gonna do that when I'm at Howard, bro. Free DC. Well, she's not even gonna be there anymore.
Annie Blasting just subscribed. Happy Juneteenth. SDABLOV.
I'm gonna see how many people are there.
Good morning to the class of 2026.
That's so funny. I don't even know what you do in this situation. Like, honestly, like if you get booed, you're just like, all right, well, I'll catch y'all later. Not really, because the speech is not really for them though, you know? The speech is not really for the students. It's for the commencement speaker to make them feel important. That's why you have all like the AI commencement speeches that were like, hey, y'all gonna be working for me. Y'all are dirt under my boot. Hold on, where's it at? We looked at this before. Like this.
AI.
Artificial intelligence.
What are you going to do with it?
Commencement speakers can't stop talking about AI, and graduates aren't having it.
The rise of artificial intelligence is the next industrial revolution.
I will say she took it in stride a little bit.
What happened? Okay, I struck a chord.
Across this year's graduation,
she wasn't like, ha, you losers, you're gonna be working for me. Like,
speakers hammered the same themes: AI, innovation, and the future of work.
The question is not whether AI will shape the world. It will. The question is whether you will help shape artificial intelligence.
This is your moment to help shape what comes next.
Your generation, you have the opportunity to use the most high-powered intelligence ever created. What are you going to do with it?
The messaging has sparked discussion about whether commencement speeches are getting too similar.
AI? I'm sure she was. I'm sure she was. When she gets her millions of dollars, she's just like, well, AI is good for me. So
whether students are already exhausted by AI overload.
When someone offers you a seat on the rocket ship, you do not ask which seat. You just get on.
AI is rewriting.
That analogy is so stupid. It's such a bad analogy. Because the analogy is predicated on we're leaving the earth. You know what I mean? We're abandoning what we've made here because we've already destroyed it. We wouldn't need a rocket ship if y'all weren't destroying the planet in the first place. I spoke at my Pick Amendment speech in 2024 and we were not having it.
Writing production as we sit here. I know it. Deal with it.
Not every commencement speaker this year failed to read the room. At Emory University's ceremony, Delta CEO Ed Bastian took an alternate approach.
Out of curiosity, I asked AI to prepare the address. And I was amazed at how quick and easy it was generated, right? But I also noticed the lack of soul nor warmth it conveyed. You want to hear from me, not some algorithm of me. So don't worry, I threw it away and took pencil to paper. And always remember, thank you.
This, can I also say, is also propaganda. This is also propaganda. It is. He knows what he's doing, right? He knows what he's doing. It's not like full-throatedly supportive of AI, but like you shouldn't be cheered for like getting a chance to speak at a commencement and then cheating your way out of it and then deciding not to do it because like it wasn't good enough at it. You know what I mean? So I think it's a little bit posturing. You think he even generated anything? Probably. He's trying the soft launch option. Yeah, he's trying to be like, it's good cop, bad cop, right? All the other people were doing bad cop, which is like, AI is going to be here, deal with it. And the good cop is like, listen, AI is going to be here, but you have to deal with it. You know what I mean? You just said the same thing a little bit nicer.
For more on how AI is reshaping graduation season, head to Business Insider.
Anyway, let's go back to the potential new DC mayor.
Woman Janice Lewis George appears to be the next mayor of Washington, D.C. She says her biggest opponent, Kenya McDuffie.
Can I also say, it seems like a lot of like black and people of color have like are like doing better winning their elections than like other like leftist candidates. You know what I mean? But they don't get as much attention in like the national news because it's not as flashy.
Called to concede. I asked George how she plans to keep her campaign promises like universal child care with the current state of the budget.
We've been working hard and speaking to so many budget analysts who have worked in DC government before, and we are already taking a look at many of our agencies and how we can be more efficient and effective in spending and savings.
Why not, you know?
What policy changes we need to make sure our government is spending more efficiently and effectively. I think it's just so critical where the government is right now and our bond rating. Those things have to be preserved. The last time we lost our autonomy, it was because our finances were not where they need to be. And so what I want to be clear to people is that I am going to be prudent and thoughtful and strategic about our city funding and budget, and also be innovative and thoughtful about how we continue to grow our city's budget in a way. And one of the best things we can do is make this city affordable.
I also asked about the Office of Campaign Finance investigation into her campaign. It was released days after early voting started for the primary.
Our team has absolutely filed our motion to reconsider. And we are waiting the decision from the Office of Campaign Finance.
I was thinking for the 12 months. Happy birthday.
Follow their own procedural guidelines as well.
George added that she wants the Office of the Inspector General to do the work that's needed to investigate the claims, and that her goal is to make sure it doesn't happen to any other candidates. This is the second time an investigation was launched against one of Kenya McDuffie's opponents in the last hours of an election.
That sounds suspicious.
George was asked why she feels she had such a lead in this election, and she said she feels it's because she listened to voters. She said that voters are tired of hearing what the government cannot do, and they want to see and know what the government can and will do. On top of that, she said she never felt...
What I also noticed when I was in DC, and this person made me think of it, right? A lot of people wear masks. Like, if you are a masker, right? DC is the capital of people wearing masks. Like genuinely, I saw it when I went like earlier this year, like a week or not a week ago, like a month ago. It looked like 2020 again, right? So there's not like this, and like recently across the country, there's like stigma against masks coming back because it's like people being like, "Oh, we're not in 2020 anymore." You know what I mean? It's like, why are you wearing masks? You know, it's not 2020 anymore kind of thing. Like, DC doesn't really care about that. People just wear masks and it's fine. But they also haven't like criminalized masks to the extent that like North Carolina has, where they pass like mask bans in stuff, or even like Baltimore, you know? Where there's like bans on wearing masks. Because the average age in DC is like 65. That's just because of Congress, you know? Because 100% of Congress is 65, so... They offset it for the rest of us.
200,000 doors to earn it. Back to you.
Felicia, big question on a lot of people's minds. Has Louis George made contact with President Trump since being deemed the projected Democratic winner?
Right. Well, that's one of the questions she was also asked today, and she emphasized that there is still the general election in the fall, right? So up until then, and even up until January, Mayor Muriel Bowser represents this city, and she says essentially when it comes to the president, that's still Bowser's domain. But she said if the president is open to a call and conversation, she is open to it. She emphasized the fact
What did you think of the prime?
She will work with the president on things that benefit the district. Now reporting live from Northwest DC, Felicia Ashley, 7 News.
Felicia, thank you. Just a couple of hours ago, the Associated Press called another race in the district. Elisa Silverman is now the projected winner of the independent at-large special election. The former city council member received 55% of the votes. Once DC certifies the results, Silverman's term will last until January. Then you will see her back on the ballot for the November general election. The other big race to watch is the D.C. delegate contest. Councilmember Robert White won the Democratic primary after some contentious back.
That's my cousin, by the way.
Back and forth on the campaign trail with his colleague.
Or my worst enemy.
Pinto. White will face Republican challenger Denise Rosado in the general election this November.
Yeah, so like black socialists are up. Yeah, this is also true. Like, maybe we won't see many Black Girl Magic tweets about this from liberals because they don't care about that. They care about liberalism. So that makes sense. New poll shows Democratic Socialist born in 1997, leading a veteran Democrat who took office in 1997. The CO won, or Colorado won, a Democratic primary poll shows 29-year-old Milad Quiros ahead of Diana Doggett, 41 to 36, 38-point swing towards Quiros since March. Hashtag Black socialists are up. I've been telling people this. Black socialists are up and they're in. Like, if all this entire slate of Black socialists win, they will be the most leftist people in Congress. Like, I don't want to say by far. There are other leftist people in Congress, but like, you think Trump will try to outlaw socialism? I don't think he cares enough to. I think he has bigger fish to fry. I think like making socialism illegal is like a little bit further down their road of like we're doing full tilt fascism. You know? If it's from Zoran would change his mind anyway. True. My first phone banking yesterday, I know this is an electoral space. It's kind of rough. I mean, we still talk about electoralism, right? I'll cover it, but you know, it is interesting to see that the contingency that I've been telling people that is out there, right, and that can pull in support, is pulling in the support, you know? And so you don't necessarily need, and granted, it's not like, you know, in a 85% or like 90% white state like Maine is, but like you don't necessarily need to appeal to like the white identity and the optics focused, you know what I mean? The like optics focused identity markers to pull in support, right? It's not necessarily like necessary inherently so. Does that make sense? They don't want to hear that. They want to make us stop being mean to white people. Yes, and I think that is silly. But I think it's also a little bit telling, right? The fact that like these people don't get as much attention as it pertains to like their races and what they stand for. Well, technically, it's not the Senate, right? So you can say that, right? But I think that they represent more of like what you should be trying to build as the left than like being like, well, you know, white people love Graham Plattner, right? Because they're all based on the same thing. They're based on the same policies. And so it's the policies that matter, not necessarily the identity.
I'm Maylot Kuros. I'm a lawyer, an immigrant raised in Denver, and I'm running for Congress because establishment Democrats have failed us. Diana DeGette has been in office for decades, backed by the same billionaires and corporations who keep our prices high, burn our planet, and profit from genocide. It's time for a change. It's time for Medicare for all. It's time to abolish ICE and to actually fight back against Donald Trump. I'm Maylot Kuros, and I approve this message.
Like she doesn't have the very strong online basis, right? But if she did a 38-point swing to pull ahead by like 5 points, like that's kind of crazy. Also, it is crazy that like she was born when the Democrat took office in the first place. Yeah, we're cooked. The country's cooked. Yeah, I also wanted to show this, which is Juneteenth marks the moment the message of freedom reached the last enslaved Black Americans in Texas. This Juneteenth, let's commit to taking action to pass the Reparations Now resolution and work towards delivering real justice and equality for our Black neighbors. Or equity, not equality. Equity for our Black neighbors. I don't think it's going to pass. But I appreciate the gesture. The problem with the socialist movements take community, that isn't something that just happens. The reason why people like Zoran or Kuros wasn't here earlier because they were busy building communities necessary for the movements to work. I mean, I disagree with the idea that the communities don't just happen. The community is there, right? There's just a disconnect between the community that's there and like those communities feeling validated enough to go vote for a politician, right? People will be in communities and they will protect each other in communities, right? They'll do mutual aid in communities. They'll run food banks in communities, right? They'll do like different campaigns to like, you know, help the homeless in their communities or like get people who don't have access to, you know, like health clinics to health clinics. These are things that communities do in themselves, but there's a disconnect between them and that and the politicians running on the policies, right? So that's kind of where like the politician is not creating community. Does that make sense? Like a politician is not showing up and being like, I'm bringing the community together. The community is already there, and they just need somebody that they can coalesce around when they go to vote. Right?
Happy Juneteenth. Juneteenth, we honor and celebrate both liberation and perseverance. Juneteenth marks the moment when the promise of freedom finally reached the last enslaved Black Americans in Texas, more than 2 years after emancipation had been declared. As many of our residents across the country celebrate, we recognize the contributions of many of our Black communities whose labor and leadership and sacrifices helped build this country. We also remember the struggle for justice did not end on Juneteenth. Each generation has been called to continue the work of expanding opportunity, protecting civil rights, ensuring that every person is treated with human dignity. Juneteenth is a reminder that freedom must be more than a promise. It must be reflected in our schools, our workplaces, our neighborhoods, and in our democracy. Black neighbors need more than a day, Mr. Speaker. They deserve reparations. So let's celebrate Juneteenth, but let's be a reminder that, again, the future must include real results and real accountability for every family so they can thrive and a community can be valued.
Yeah. I also have Zoran's message with that. I already put it here. Oh,
When America catches a cold, Black America gets pneumonia. That even after freedom was delayed time and again, even after rights were withheld and opportunity was restricted, Black Americans still found a way to stand together in solidarity. What good is having the right to sit at a lunch counter if you can't afford to buy a hamburger? Good evening, everyone. It is an honor to welcome you to Gracie Mansion, the People's House, to commemorate Juneteenth together.
Like, again, no beef specifically to Bernie Sanders. Bernie's not moving like this. Not saying he never celebrated Juneteenth, right? But the way that Zoran Mamdani messages himself around Black issues is just better, right? And I think that's why he has not why specifically, but I think that helps his mass appeal as it pertains to like reaching out to all different communities, right? Bernie wasn't bad at doing that. Like there was definitely like some diversity in like the Bernie Bro coalition, right? But I think there's a difference between like being a part of a coalition and being like seen in the coalition. I think Zoran does that very well, which is why he is insanely popular.
Now, I will first ask if you will grant me this, and that we say it together. Nixon. Nixon. I want to say thank you to the incredible artists, activists, and community leaders that are here with us today. And I'd like to begin by acknowledging Dr. Pace, because your sculpture...
I will say, Knicks fans are not as bad as Eagles fans. Eagles fans during a win are completely insufferable.
Triumph of the human spirit in Foley Square has become a rallying point for so many who dare to imagine a better future. It is a powerful tribute to those long forgotten who are lay buried nearby. I want to also thank all.
Yeah, but like don't Eagles fan like eat like horse feces? Just saw some nasty behavior from Knicks fans. Listen, I'm just saying. That's one guy. I'm just saying. That's what I saw. That's what I saw. All I'm saying is that Knicks in 5, go Birds. They're kind of the same thing to me.
All of the senior members of my administration, as well as a number of elected officials that we have here with us. I want to acknowledge our district attorneys, Alvin Bragg and Darcel Clark, who are here with us. New York State Assembly member Chantel Jackson, who is here with us. Tamika Mallory, who is here with us.
They're just bad. Yes, I will say that.
Stephen Green and Lady Brea, who is here with us. Arva Rice from the New York Urban League. Eljoy Williams from the NAACP. Raymond Codrington from the Weeksville Heritage Center. And Alicia Garza from Black Lives Matter. There are so many more who are here, who have blazed a trail for this city and for this country and for this world.
Don't say Rachel Dolezal, also from the NAACP.
So deeply appreciative of you taking the time to join us this evening. You know, on Juneteenth, as you've heard so many say, but as any elected...
Look at even the 100 bits.
Indicted me.
All I got for reparations payment, my ad revenue.
Official will tell
I'll
you...
let it count for now.
We have to say it again ourselves. We commemorate the people of Galveston, Texas, learning of their freedom. As you heard, it was a full 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation took effect on January 1st, 1863. Now, more than 250,000 former...
Dang, 1963, that wasn't that long ago at all. So I would agree. I feel like what you're describing is just a small group. I would argue that small groups helping each other isn't community. I think community is groups and individuals working for collective benefit. The politicians that come out of them should simply be mouthpieces. Communities have finally begun to organize and have proper list of demands. I think I disagree with your definition of community. The idea that like there's a difference between like small groups and community, I think it's just false. Right? Community is like being like present with your neighbors, right? For any number of different things, right? It's seeing somebody who has less and helping them achieve that or giving them that, you know? Right? Community does not have to be something grandiose, right? It doesn't have to be something that's, it has to be written in the history books or whatever, right? It's merely a protection apparatus to protect the most vulnerable people among you. Right? It could be small groups. It could be large endeavors to push for electoral change. But all of that is community.
Formerly enslaved Black Texans turned June 19th into a holiday.
That's why there's community in GOP states, right? In red states. Ever thought about living in New York City? Everybody's moving to New York City. I have a bunch of friends who are like, I'm going to New York City. And I'm just like, bro, everybody's going to New York City. So I've been to New York City like 3 times, I think. There's a lot going on.
A holiday of barbecues, of rodeos, of singing, of red punch. When Black people were denied the right to gather in public places for the holiday, they were not deterred. They purchased private tracts of land and turned them into parks where they could gather together. I'm struck by the...
City when you lived there 10 years ago, you told me you might go back. Hopefully, there's like, not a white flight, but like, there's like a red flight, which is like all the Republicans themselves decide to up and leave New York City. That would be positive. Right? It's like reverse gentrification. Right?
Term
so white
joy,
flight, listen.
Boy, this holiday insists on that even after freedom was delayed time and again, even after rights were withheld and opportunity was restricted, Black Americans still found a way to stand together in solidarity, to create a day of celebration.
North Carolina, nothing to do here. Hey. Chill on North Carolina. Chill on North Carolina. I'm from North Carolina. That's my state.
Were withheld and opportunity was restricted, Black Americans still found a way to stand together in solidarity, to create a day of celebration. As we approach the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, I am reminded that the story of American progress has never been a linear one. If nothing else, it has been a story of everyday people continuing to reach for our nation's highest ideals. No matter what adversity lies in the way, no matter how many with power and means strive to keep liberty just out of reach. That story is one that was told here in our city too, in meeting houses and on street corners and dockyards and on farmland. It is not lost on me that we stand together in a house that was built in part by enslaved labor. Nor do I forget that some of my predecessors centuries ago had enslaved people working for them themselves. Our city may have been relatively early to outlaw the practice of slavery, but we benefited from that practice too. It is estimated that approximately 80% of Southern cotton passed through New York City. And yet I am proud of our city's legacy as home to some of the most powerful voices in the abolitionist movement. David Ruggles, Louis Napoleon, Sojourner Truth, and so many more. New York City was the beating heart of so many daring operations for freedom, a crucial part of the Underground Railroad, a city where people risked their lives daily for others that they had never met. I think, too, of Weeksville. Decades before the Civil War, stevedore James Weeks bought land in Brooklyn and turned Weeksville into a safe haven for free black New Yorkers, sustained by their own shops, schools, nursing homes, orphanages, newspapers, and churches. And I think of the 4,000 black New Yorkers who were not drafted into the Union Army during the Civil War, who were in fact denied the right to serve, but demanded to take part in the fight for freedom anyway. Many lost their lives so that others might taste the dignity
the Union was
to
racist.
fight so hard to.
We don't talk about that much because it's like obviously the Confederacy is right there, but like the Union was like insanely racist as well. Must I remind you, the Emancipation Proclamation only freed the slaves in the Confederate States because Abraham Lincoln was hoping that that would cause the slaves to, you know, drop down their tools and join the side of the Union Army, right, to help destabilize the South. Like it wasn't like I really care about black people. It was a purely strategic move. You know? Right? And also Abraham Lincoln saying like that he thought that black people were inferior to white people. And also why he wanted to free the slaves only for a strategic move. Right? Like, but he gets a lot of praise because, you know, he freed the slaves. Which again, on the sliding scale of US presidents, he's of the least bad ones. Right? Because we had like freaking Andrew Jackson's right there. But like, the union was just like, we don't think the savages should be property. Yeah. At the very least, not property at the moment for this war, which is why the northern states got to keep their slaves, right? Even after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed until like later, right? So this guy hiring 550 more police officers, probably. Madani's not good on the NYPD. He's really bad on the NYPD. That's one of his biggest L's, is the way that he engages with the New York Police Department. Right?
No.
You're not going to get any defense of that from me.
Yes, we celebrate. And we are also reminded of how much more work remains to be done so that all may know dignity.
Because she isn't good on the police either.
You have all heard me speak of the affordability crisis affecting our city. And yes, it affects every single New Yorker. However, we all know that the impact of this crisis has not been borne evenly. As the old saying goes, when America catches a cold, Black America gets pneumonia. Over the past 2 decades, rising costs have pushed 200,000 Black New Yorkers out of our city.
All the good things that happen in America is in spite of the ruling class and the government. True. And the ruling class co-opted the optics of every good thing once the approval has reached some popular threshold. Documentarily, the government is riding back to the lie about indigenous Americans and the Declaration of Independence. 100%. That's a great way to put it. Right? I mean, the perfect example is just like how Martin Luther King was viewed, right? 1, by the government, and 2, by the populace, up until the point of his death. You know? He was unpopular. Massively unpopular, right? Until his assassination. And then afterwards, up until like, you know, the public outcry following it. You know, but now he's like the darling child of the FBI, even though the FBI had him killed. He died the most hated man in America. Yeah. Reminder: Abraham Lincoln wanted to ship out freed slaves back to Africa. He also tried to dump them into Haiti. Haiti told them, take those American people back to your country. Haiti's like, listen, we got our own independence. Don't bring your people out over here.
It has meant that we have lost 19% of our city's population of black children and teenagers over the course of just 10 years. And as City Hall works to enact an affordability agenda that lifts financial 19% of our city decades. Rising costs have pushed 200,000 black New Yorkers out of our city. It has meant that we have lost 19% of our city's population of black children and teenagers over the course of just 10 years.
I will say, I don't think like a lot of the people who are moving to New York City because they think that it's like a socialist like safe haven now are going to stay, right? Because New York City is one of these cities, one of the only cities in this country that is built foundationally on community, right? Like it's even with the cost coming down, right? Even with the cost coming down, I don't think it'll be like, I think it's not what people think that it is, right? I think it's turning into that because of gentrification and people, like a lot of transplants moved to New York City for a number of different reasons, right? But it's still a very community focused city, right? And that's like, I think it's a fear that I have with like the way that people will like be like, oh, that's a good place to live, and then flock there without even thinking about people that currently live there anyway.
Enact an affordability agenda that lifts financial burdens off the backs of every New Yorker. As we deliver universal childcare, city-run grocery stores where food is actually affordable,
the tier one.
Hundreds of thousands of permanently rent-stabilized homes, we do so knowing that for far too long, neighborhoods that black New Yorkers have helped to build,
to Philly or Delaware. Yeah, sometimes New Jersey, but New Jersey is also expensive. Also, why would you go to New Jersey?
Narcy, the South Bronx, Howard Beach, and so many others have had to choose between being last in line or not at all.
City is so expensive in parts because it's the only true city in the U.S. There needs to be a lot more New York cities in the U.S.
Is just beginning. Progress rarely arrives overnight. And yet, as we stand together, I cannot help but think of the same few words that you have heard sung this evening and quoted again.
Echoed them already since they controlled North Jersey. True. I've been to New Jersey one time. And I was just there because it was close to New York City. I don't know if I would go back. It'd be like a COVID all over again. Everything went up by like 80% and then went down by like 30%. We presented sweet. Yeah. I was fear people moving to New York will be a part of. People are moving to New York to be a part of the movement when they can literally build a movement where they are. That is a very good point. I agree with that. Right. I think it's because they feel it's easy. Right. Let me know if I'm off on this, but I feel like a lot of people, not a lot of people, some people who are moving to New York because of Mamdani are doing it because they view it as easy to be a part of a movement that's already built, essentially. And it's hard to build that where they are. Right. Can't believe with the 19 gifted subs. Because it's the 19th of June. It's Juneteenth. I see what you did there. Much appreciated. We are at like, where are we at? What are my subs at? 770 subs. No, 789 subs. I haven't updated it yet. W. We're almost at 800. W.
The first verse of Lift Every Voice and Sing.
That's the Black National Anthem, chat, if you didn't know.
Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun.
See, I thought it was a joke. No, it's actually not. And I know this because I have 5 friends who are moving to New York City. And more that want to. I know 5 people specifically in Los Angeles who are like, I'm getting out of Dodge, bro. I'm leaving Los Angeles, which I don't blame them because the election sucked here. I'm also leaving Los Angeles, but I'm leaving for grad school. So I have a reason for it. Same thing Boots was speaking on. It's easier to join a movement when you see the plan, which we'll look at the Boots Riley thing in a second.
March on till
For
victory.
another Democratic Socialist mayor. The Democratic Socialist mayor got elected, or at least won their primary election after I decided to join. So therefore, they're actually doing it because of me, not the other way around. We're going to New York for school. Am I exempt from judgment? For now.
Is one. As we march on together, let our feet be guided by the hope that we so often have to dig deep to find. Let our voices echo with the faith that has steadied those who came before, those who helped build this city and this nation, who found light even among the darkness. And as the sun continues its rise and breaks the horizon, let its warmth be felt not solely by those who have always felt it, but also by those...
Because Trinity just moves to New York City. It's one of like the 3 good cities here. No, the reason why I say no is because I think you can do whatever you want to do, but I think in general, I would rather see people who were priced out of the city return first and be able to return to the city, instead of people who were like, "Ooh, new shiny city. Why not? Why don't I just go there?" You know, I'm not saying that they can't go there. Right, but like, and hopefully, like, you know, things like rent freezes and things like decommodified housing and stuff like that. Stuff like that should lower the cost so that everybody should be able to go if they want to. Right, but like, I wish people who were priced out and had to leave, like Zoran was speaking about here, you know, are able to return to, you know, reasonably priced housing in the city. Their friends got to leave New York City because they got priced out. Yeah. 200,000 Black New Yorkers got priced out. Right? And so if everybody flocks into New York and those Black New Yorkers still got priced out, it's essentially the same thing as gentrification.
Who have been in its darkness.
It's just done because, you know, hashtag socialism. Hashtag socialist gentrification.
That is the work before us. And so I am so thankful to all of you for being here. To so many of you for having blazed a trail that I could even dream one day of walking to become the mayor of our city. And as I think of this day and how it's often characterized as one of celebration, it must also be a day of recognition. A day recognizing all that is still to be done, because as this day celebrates freedom, I cannot help but think of the words of Martin Luther King Jr. decades ago, who asked, what good is having the right to sit at a lunch counter if you can't afford to buy a hamburger? So as we talk about freedom, as we celebrate freedom, we know that we still have to do the work to ensure that that freedom can be felt, that freedom can be used, that freedom can be a reality here in the most expensive city in the United States of America. So it is such a pleasure to be in this struggle with all of you, and I thank you for having led this for so long, and for having allowed New Yorkers a chance to see what it can look like to live in a city where Black history isn't just something that has been written or is being written, but that it must also be a city where it can continue to be written. Thank you so much. Happy Juneteenth. Thank you.
Indeed. Hashtag Juneteenth. Hashtag Juneteenth indeed. The question that I want to know for Zoran Mamdani and for the new mayor of DC potentially
right now and
is, has she read the Geese article? That would be my first question to her if I ever get to a chance to talk to her when I'm in DC. Have you read the Geese article? Jackie Vandenberg, they were 21 months. Reparations. Okay. Let's hit this real quick because I did see this yesterday. Kyle Klinsky, there is a 0% chance Kamala Harris would have carpet bombed little girls' school in Iran. There is no planet where Donald Trump is a better option than Kamala Harris. If you believe that, then your brain is a figgy putty.
there is a 0% chance that Kamala Harris would have blown up random dinghy fishing boats in the Pacific and the Caribbean, which Trump has now done dozens of times, hundreds of times.
I have to remind you that ICE under Joe Biden sent out like literal slave catchers to catch migrants who they deemed were crossing the border illegally. I just want to point that out there. So maybe they would not have like bombed fishing boats or whatever, but like I think this does a disservice to how aligned like the Democratic and Republican Party are on like the underlying policies. Their methods may differ, right? How far they're willing to go may differ, but they are generally aligned on these policies, right? Kamala Harris was the border czar. She said we need to have a stronger border presence and better border security, right? Like these are things that like she believed. Like the cages that Donald Trump used under Trump 1 were Obama built cages. Like this is just the case. You know what I mean? And like you can acknowledge that while acknowledging that what Trump is doing now is obviously horrific and horrendous. But you don't have to like run defense retroactively for the policies that the Democrats definitely did and will definitely continue to do when they resume power. I totally agree that ICE was super awful before, but this is just Gestapo amplified. ICE was always Gestapo amplified. There was never a time where ICE wasn't the Gestapo amplified. Right? The ICE, it's kind of like the police. Like ICE killed American citizens before. ICE deported, right, Americans before. It has happened under Democratic administrations, right? I'm not saying what's happening now isn't like a capitalist every single day, Shank. Worse, I guess. Okay. I live when I believe. Right, but it does a disservice to the actual movement itself by pretending like the Democrats are not aligned with them. They just disagree with how prominently to do these same exact things, right? They disagree with how overtly to push for these same endeavors. Does that make sense? Someone cool thing for the 9 months.
Killed at least 200 people doing hundreds of times, killed at least 200 people doing that. There is a 0% chance Kamala Harris would have carpet bombed little girl schools in Iran. 0. There's a 0% chance Kamala Harris would have done a crypto scam coin rug pull on her own fucking supporters. 0.
Yeah, that's I'll run this one back.
Carpet bombed little girl schools. 0% chance Kamala Harris would have carpet bombed little girl schools in Iran.
I don't necessarily agree with this because, right? This is what I'll say. Do I think Kamala Harris, as the president, would have preemptively struck Iran because they knew that Israel was going to preemptively strike Iran and that Iran would retaliate? No. But do I think under Kamala Harris's administration, Israel would have struck Iran? Yes. And America would have gotten involved to defend Israel? Yes. I think the same effect would have happened, but just in a different order. I don't think Kamala Harris would have preemptively struck Iran because Israel was going to do it. I think that Israel would have struck Iran, and Kamala Harris would be like, oh, now we have to defend them because Israel is our biggest ally. Right, happened under Biden? Yeah. Right, again, I'm not claiming that they would be exactly the same. I think it's a straw man to say that people are saying that they will be literally exactly the same on every single issue. The problem is that they are aligned, right, more than they disagree. Many, many times. And I think it does a disservice to the wider movement, pretending like that's not the case, right? And here, and Kyle's been on this BS for a while because he did the same thing about like the cages. So I can find it. Hold on. Bro, it's so hard to find anything on Twitter. Am I crazy on that? It's almost impossible to find a video you want to see on Twitter. Hold on.
I live like a capitalist every single day, Shank. I live as a capitalist, okay? I live when I believe.
Markopologist just subscribed. Happy Juneteenth. Happy Pride Month. Also happy birthday to me, my B-day on the 25th.
I will find it. Hold on.
Zero. There's a 0% chance Kamala Harris would have done a crypto scam coin rug pull on her own fucking supporters. 0% chance. Don't give me this false equivalence bullshit. And in this case, it's not even false equivalence. He's flat out saying Trump might still have been the better option. There's no fucking planet where Donald Trump was the better option over Kamala Harris. If you believe that,
here, I'll show you this too. I mean, obviously, like, I agree with this part. Like, he's not like Donald Trump is not better than Kamala Harris.
Brain is motherfucking figgy pudding. Let's be serious. A little bit too much TRT, a little bit too many steroids, and a little bit too much alpha brain, and now all of a sudden you're the world's dumbest man. Because this is completely and utterly unacceptable. Spare me. Or say the real thing. Say what you actually think. Black woman, not comfortable with the whole black woman thing. Because that's probably what they're actually feeling, right? Oh, you're going to let the black woman run shit? Yeah, no, let's go with the fat pedophile, rapist, war criminal. I'm sure he'll be better. Yeah, the guy born with a silver spoon in his mouth worth hundreds of millions of dollars. That guy who's been a fucking asshole his entire life, who failed up his entire life. That douchebag, yeah, let's go with him.
I'm trying to find it. I know for a fact that I've seen it. I know I've seen it. There was what I'm looking for is there was a video of Kyle. Let me check my bookmarks again. No, it's not here. There's a video of Kyle that basically was like, I don't know. I can't find it. I can't find it. If I find it, I'll show it to you. It was also this one though.
Stupidity. And are we really doing this as fascism is rapidly taking over this country? Is that what we're doing? Are we actually doing this as innocent immigrants are being frog marched into concentration camps and they're being tortured and raped? Are we really doing this as Trump is protecting the Epstein class cabal of pedophile rapists? Are we really doing this as Trump launches a new war every other week and is illegally attacking Iran and bombing schools and hospitals? Are we really doing this as Trump and his billionaire buddies loot the treasury and rob us fucking blind? Are we really doing this as we're on the brink of a fucking Great Depression because of Trump's incompetence and stupidity and mismanagement? Are we really trying to kneecap the only Democrat that can take down Susan Collins in this moment when the whole fucking control of the Senate might come down to this? And you're gonna talk about Democratic toxic masculinity? Oh my word. Oh no. Oh no. I'm sorry. We left this shit back in woke 1.0. I guess you haven't got the motherfucking memo, bro. This is left back in woke 1.0. Now we're in woke 2.0. This shit is known as dark woke, meaning all the Republicans can suck my nuts from the back. That's what that means. Meaning we don't fucking police each other. Excuse me, did you just call Donald Trump fat? Because that's actually really crude and fat phobic. I don't give a fuck. He's a fat pedophile, war criminal, rapist, racist, fascist con man. Who are we kidding? They're every negative thing in the book. I will call them every negative thing in the book. I will say that Stephen Miller is a disgusting, ugly little twerp fuck, okay? And you want to call me toxically masculine for doing it? That's your problem. That's a you problem. That's not a me problem, okay? And the fact of the matter is, most of the Democratic base are with us now, or with me now, or with the uncensored leftists who are telling the truth. See, it's just a disgusting hit piece, trying to use identity politics and woke 1.0 language to take down the only hope we have of actually defeating MAGA fascism. It's a necessity to take back the Senate.
Sorry, okay. I have to stop it here to just say, if fascism comes down to electing a single politician, you are in fascism. Does that make sense? If we're at the point where fascism is made, right, or broken by a single election in Maine, you're in fascism. We are already in fascism, which we are already in fascism. Like, I did not see the Boots Riley. We'll get to the Boots Riley thing in a second. I was looking for a specific clip. I could not find it. I could not find it. I knew that I've seen it before, though.
I live like a capitalist every single day, Shank. I live as a capitalist.
In order to defeat MAGA fascism.
Waiting eternal thing for the 2 months.
You are going to do this?
What clip? It was a clip about Kyle, like, saying basically if you say that, like, Biden or Obama built the cages, you're dumb or something. I don't know, something like that.
As opposed to, I don't know, you should write a think piece about the fascism of Susan Collins, or how she ends up helping toxic masculinity because she emboldens MAGA fascism. How about that think piece? No, you have a bone to pick because you wanted Mills to win. Mills didn't. She shit the bed. Now you're furious. The leftists got the better of you. And so your leftist derangement syndrome has overtaken your rational brain, and you're fine with shitting on the left, even if that means letting MAGA continue to run this country into a fucking ditch and destroy everything. It's humiliating. It's embarrassing. You should be fucking ashamed of yourself. And allow me to say on the record right the fuck now, if Janet Mills had beaten Graham Plattner, I'd be fucking arguing for her like nobody's business. I'd break out my motherfucking pom-poms and be on air like, go Janet, go Janet. Why? Because we need to defeat the fascists. The fascists, the imperial...
I think that kind of exemplifies the problem a little bit, though, right? Like, I don't understand how people don't, especially like serious political commentators, don't realize that, like, if you're in that position, you're the rube. Like, you're the fool. Like, you have been gotten. You got. If your role was like, I'll just support whoever the blue guy is, right? Like, we need to fully reevaluate the way that we engage with the political system if that's the mindset that we arrive at, right? Like, we got here because of this mindset. We got here because we were unable to actually hold politicians accountable, right? And we do team sports, right? We throw them into the position based on what team they represent. We should have curbed that in 2020, right? That should be the woke 2.0, right? Because that mindset is what got us here in the first place, right? You're staking your entire activism on elections when it is I say this all the time. The Democrats always say the way to stop fascism, like liberal Democrats say, the way to stop fascism is keep electing Democrats. And Kyle is saying no different here. The problem with that mindset is you cannot keep electing Democrats. It is an impossibility. Donald Trump was always going to happen. If it wasn't Donald Trump in 2016, it would have been Donald Trump in 2020. If it wasn't Donald Trump in 2020, it would have been Donald Trump in 2024 or 2028. It is inevitable. You will inevitably get a Donald Trump-like figure if that is your mindset. It is impossible for you to hold on to power forever. You cannot keep winning elections forever. You can't do it, right? We need to radically change the way that we engage with our political system so that we're not in a situation where we have to vote against fascism. Does that make sense? Spicy Big Brown Joy Gray on Cornel West, Biden and Trump. I'm not watching an hour-long video of it, but if there's a time that you want me to see, I'll take a little look-sees. Trump is Thanos. Indeed, he is inevitable. Because the Communist Party and the DPRK. It can be team is doing good for the people, but really combating fascism and winning. But the team isn't even doing that. I saw a channel called Deculturation that was calling Kyle a Nazi. I'm aware of deculturation. I think they debated like a FD. I don't think Kyle's a Nazi, right? I think he's a liberal. Not even like liberal derogatory. I think that he's a liberal. Right? Just even disregarding this entire thing, I think it's more when I was like learning about leftism, the entire thing was essentially the dividing line between liberals and leftists was that they are anti-capitalist. And I haven't seen Kyle like be a staunch anti-capitalist personally. I don't agree with the notion that Kyle's a liberal. That's ridiculous. I don't think Kyle's anti-capitalist. Right? And we literally just saw him downplaying the role the Democrats play in aggressively disgusting foreign policy. The idea that Kamala Harris would not have gone to war with Iran or would not have bombed Iran if Israel struck, like that is a falsehood. Right? The idea that like Kamala Harris would not have like an aggressively draconian immigration policy is also a falsehood. Right? Are they just as bad as Donald Trump? Maybe not. Right? But that's a falsehood. Is ahistoric also? It is ahistoric. Right? But even past all of that, I don't think he's anti-capitalist. And I think being anti-capitalist is a prerequisite to being a leftist. Right? The dividing line between a liberal and a leftist is somebody who is anti-capitalist. I think it's that simple. I'm not saying that he's like, again, liberal derogatory or whatever. I'm not saying that like I don't like him so he's a liberal, right? I don't use liberal the way people use liberal against me. Right? Yeah, like Kamala wouldn't have had police beat journalists in protest is also a falsehood. Indeed. So Stockton is a liberal? Yes. I think very famously so. I think Stockton versus Democratic Socialists is the perfect example of the liberal leftist divide, right? It's like on like the political compass as like a divide. Like Stockton is where like liberal ends, right? People will like capitalism, but wants very strong capitalist reform, like social reform to capitalism is like that's the end of liberalism. Once you transition into like an anti-capitalist position, that's when you become a leftist. People who also go to university, liberals. Yeah, true. Not Marxists, liberals, indeed. If you are in school or teach at school. I feel like that's how people are viewing the term liberal as like a word to insult people. Yeah, because that's how they use it. Right? They use liberal as a term to insult people. Right? I think it like terms like shit lib and stuff, right? It's used as a pejorative in order to disengage with somebody and potentially like harm their feelings or whatever. You know? But like I use the term because that's like what dark woke is based in, right? I don't engage in like politics meant to like hurt people's feelings. So when I use a term, I'm using it in the way that it's supposed to be used, like definitionally. Easy for people like Kyle who should live. I just don't like the term. I don't prefer to use it. Same way that I won't use like wrecker in the way that it's actually like intended to be used. Right? because like I don't think it's particularly productive. Which is why I don't do it. These terms the same way that right wingers use it. Yeah. Anyway, move off of Kyle. I just saw that first video. I was just like, that's interesting. I do want to look at the Boots Riley interview though. I know somebody in Discord had timestamps. See if I can find it. Hold on. Where's it at? Oh, there's also the GTA 6 cover art. There's also the Drew Gooden video. There's another video I wanted to see.
The music industry is in an...
Where's it at? Three hours and 30 minutes. Okay. Hasanabi. We see they drop pre-orders next week. I saw the cover art with Kirk added in. Oh wait, it's actually 2 days ago. There. Go to 3:30.
To they went to Central California and started this thing. But the point is that through that, they weren't just talking about organizing at this one ranch or organizing even the whole valley. They were talking about that in connection with how this sort of a movement can build and spread and become the
video by a black person. I scrolled past the video by a black person because I didn't want to get back into the bad up and all stuff. So
the class conflict that we need in order to actually make a revolution. So also during that, I realized that you could come and scare people about everything that's going on. Talk about how fucked up everything.
If you're on YouTube here, I mean, I put it on YouTube, but like, let's hear my mouth.
All right, Boots Riley.
2 hours? Jeez Louise. Where's this time step at? It's like 25 minutes in. I was on Caroline's channel.
And I could just see her sitting there like,
it's how
that you thing, you know, it's something that you haven't seen before.
They formed their own union, and I went as a teenager to help them, and they were they had been students in 1968 in Mexico who had left to save their lives, but didn't want to just become professors. They wanted to carry on the revolution, and so they went to they went to Central California and started this thing. But the point is that through that, they weren't just talking about organizing at this one ranch or organizing even the whole valley. They were talking about that in connection with how this sort of a movement can build and spread and become the class struggle, the class conflict that we need in order to actually make a revolution. So also during that, I realized that you could come and scare people about everything that's going on, talk about how fucked up everything is, and people will get mad, but that doesn't make them want to do anything. That makes them feel righteous in not doing anything sometimes. And what I understood early on was that people need to be able to see a way to win in order to get involved with stuff, that that optimism and real optimism, not just like everything's going to be okay. One day we will prevail, blah, blah, blah. But something connected to, and that has to do organizational wise, that has to do with engaging in winnable campaigns, engaging in but not just leaving them at reforms, engaging in winnable campaigns in the context of saying this is part of a step of how we get to a revolutionary movement. There has to be a radical vision and an idea of how this is, because otherwise you just do those winnable campaigns and it just turns into reform after reform.
Which is correct, and kind of what happens with the Democratic Party. Right, radical movements get neutered by the current system as it exists, and it doesn't go anywhere. And so the win itself is, instead of this is a step towards the revolutionary emancipatory movement, it's more of this is the win, right? And that's kind of how you get like the Kyle Kalinske a little bit, right? Where like getting the Democrat is the win. The win is we can win a campaign, and it's not we will win a campaign so that we can get the win that we actually want. You know what I mean? There's no like outward look at like this is the wider vision of what we're looking for this political movement. How do we win campaigns so that we can get there? It's we win, we get there by just winning campaigns, and that's the goal, right? And so then it turns into like we just need 51 seats. Then that's a win. We win with 51 seats. It's not we need a majority in the Senate so that we can use that majority to pass this policy, to expand the movement, to hopefully then build enough power in order to do X, whether that's abolish the police, whether that's abolish the private prison system, whether that's destroy the military industrial complex, whether that's the abolition of the commodified or they're decommodifying housing or whatever. Like it's not like we need to win so that we can do these things. The win becomes just getting elected. Right? It's like when like you're like following an IKEA instruction, right? You get like a shelf from IKEA and you're building it, right? And you lose the instructions. All you have is a bunch of different boards and a bunch of different screw holes, right? And you're like, well, I don't have the instructions, so now I just have to put a screw in the screw hole and screw. And you're screwing and you're screwing and you're screwing and you realize you're just screwing empty boards together, right? There's no vision here. You have an empty plank here and an empty plank here, and this one has some screws in it, this one has some dowels in it, this one has some glue in it for some reason. But it's not amounting to anything. Does that make sense? You're not actually building the shelf. That was the original goal. Right? The original goal was to build a shelf, and getting the screws in the board was a means to an end. But if you lose the instruction and if you lose the plot, the screws getting into the board becomes the win. Every screw you put in is a win to you. It's like, well, I'm making progress, right? I'm screwing in more screws here, right? I started with 0 screws in. Now I have 4 screws in. Now I have 8 screws in. Now I have 10 screws in. But you don't realize until you take a step back, you're not actually building a shelf. You're not actually building anything, right? You're doing work with no progress. You have no wider vision. And that's where we are when we come to electoral strategy, right? Instead of just we are getting people elected so that we can do this, so that we can build class consciousness, so that we can build a wider movement that is big enough and strong enough to take down, right, the systems of oppression that we want to combat, whether that's racism, whether that's transphobia, whether that's sexism, whether that's homophobia, whether that's capitalism, whether that's a private prison system, whether that's the draconian immigration system, right? Whether that's our foreign policy and the military industrial complex. Instead of like that being the vision, those are the instructions that we get from IKEA. And instead of us building the shelf to get to that vision, the win now becomes we're just doing work. Right? The progress becomes we're just screwing into the board, but not building the shelf. And that's what electoral policy has came from, right? That's what it's turned into, right? And it's even worse because we are in a world where people benefit from us not building the shelf, right? People benefit from us not actually making genuine progress because they profit from it. They profit from this current system. So as long as we're just like kind of chasing our tails, right? As long as we're just kind of running in circles and chasing our tails, they win. They win when we are unfocused from what we actually need to do to accomplish, right? They win when it turns into we need to abolish capitalism, right? Or move to a system away from capitalism, turning that into, right? We need to just abolish the rich. And then they win when that abolish the rich turns into we need to tax the rich. They win when that turns into we need to tax the 1%. They win when that turns into we need to tax billionaires, right? They win when that turns into we need to tax trillionaires. You know what I mean? Tax trillionaires as a policy is so far removed from what the actual goal was supposed to be, which is the abolition of capitalism. The abolition of capitalism. That is what the goal was supposed to be. That is what we were supposed to be achieving, right? But the win then becomes tax Elon Musk. That becomes the win, right? And if we end up doing it, we'll sit back and be like, all right, we did it. On a good day's work. Now let's sit in our win. That is 5, 6, 7, 8 layers, right? Deeper and further away from what the actual goal is, right? Yeah, it's good to put it. It's the goalposts have moved. It's shifted. That's how we were moving away from the destruction of capital. We are, right? Like the way that people use the Epstein class serves that purpose. It defocuses the actual goal of the movement, which should have been, if you are a leftist, to abolish capitalism as a inherently unjust economic system. You know what I mean? But when you're just like, oh, we need to take on the Epstein class, that's kind of meaningless. Am I wrong? If a politician says we need to take on the Epstein class, what does that even mean? That is a meaningless policy description. It doesn't mean anything. Many of them aren't anti-capitalist, they just want healthcare, and that's the problem because they're not leftists. Right? But that's what Boots is talking about here, assumingly. I only got 10 seconds into it. But that's kind of the issue that I see with the way that we engage with electoral strategy now. I think also the news cycle is constructed where people get hyper-focused on one specific subject, like Elon, rather than enforcing the idea that that's a symptom. True. Yeah, and this is what I talked about a few streams ago with the way that leftists abandoned Black Lives Matter. Right? Where it wasn't useful for what they were trying to do, was just, get free healthcare. Even though that is what the goal should have been. It should have been Black Lives Matter leads to, right, police reform, which then leads to prison abolition, right? Or police abolition. That didn't happen. And people just moved on to the next thing. Whatever the next hot button issue is. Right? It's going to happen with immigration. It's already happened with immigration. I think I saw, I was at an event, and they had a presentation that showed that mentions of ICE online are down 70%. There was a 70% reduction since January of this year about ICE. Right? Did anything meaningful change with ICE? Meaningfully. Is ICE meaningfully different than they were last year? As an institution. Right? We are unfocused. And people like to feel like they're doing something when they get people elected, right? People like to feel like they're doing something when they vote in elections, right? It feels like you're making progress because it's quantifiable, right? It's, we had, 49, 48 Democratic senators last electoral cycle. Now we have 53. I mean, actively worse, we're seeing the medieval torture devices they're putting on people now. It's not worse. They were torturing people before last year, chatter. Right? The only thing that meaningfully changed was the fact that people were paying attention, and that's not even happening anymore. Does that make sense? ICE as a institution did not change, right? It didn't. Like, the police are the perfect example. After George Floyd, some police departments passed some policies banning, like, not even George Floyd. It was like Eric Gardner. After Eric Gardner, some police departments passed some policies banning chokeholds. Did anything about the police, like policing as an infrastructure, right? Policing as an institution, did that change? I don't think it had. I don't think it did. There was no fundamental change in policing as a structure. They're still draconian. They're still like abusing, right, Black and brown people, right? They were then utilized and weaponized against student protesters by the Democratic administration that followed. You know what I mean? Quantifiability is an interesting position. It could be that almost all movements of policy could be illusory, i.e. we are not moving things. I know that there are guerrilla information tactics that do have measurable effects. No, for sure. Again, community-driven efforts do have an effect in the community. I'm thinking more about like the wider, like national movement. You know? People that think that ICE is worse because it just happened in the open now. But this was an issue under every president. Yeah. Right. And that's the issue with electoralism as a fundamental strategy. I'm not saying that it can't be useful to utilize. I'm not saying that it's bad to get like socialists elected or whatever. Right. But when that becomes the win, when it's like, hey, we got Zohran Mamdani. If we just get 2 more Zohran Mamdanis, right, we're winning. If we just get 5 more Zohran Mamdanis, we're winning. Right? When the fact that you elect socialists should be a means to an end. It should be, we got 5 more Zohran Mamdanis. Now those 5 Zohran Mamdanis need to do this. Right? It should be a means to an end to getting what we want and growing the wider movement. Electoralism is as a tactic, but not the strategy, and definitely not as the end itself. Yes, right. But oftentimes, I think a lot of people treat it like it is the end itself. Right. I mean, again, I'm glad I showed you the Kyle video, because Kyle was literally saying that in the video we saw. Right. He was treating electoralism like it was the end, like it was the win that we need. Right? It was literally just like, we need to stop fascism. Right? It's all reactive, right? We need to stop fascism. We need to stop the Republicans. We need to stop MAGA Republicans, without ever realizing that like it is improbable that you will be able to exercise enough pressure constantly enough to never lose an election. That's why electoralism as an end will always fail. And then people will get disillusioned. You know?
And you get burnt out. So people do get burnt out on those reform movements. They do get burnt out even when they feel that
exactly right. Also, Harris, thank you for the gifted sub. Also, yeah, they're Justin, thank you for the 5 gifted sub. I don't know if I said that either. And Marco Paulo, just thank you for the 4 months. And Basala Button, thank you for the Prime. I think that was pre-watch. I mean, it's just the correct position. Right? It's the correct position.
And it just turns into reform after reform, and you get burnt out. So people do get burnt out on those reform movements. They do get burnt out even when they feel that they're radical and they're showing up at demonstration after demonstration. And we've lied to them many times. Radicals and radical organizations unconsciously lie to people because we've been, since the beginning of the New Left, saying
also a Scarecrow Sky. Thank you for the YouTube membership. That's right. I think of my YouTube members. I see you, YouTube members. I see you there.
We took it from
Bemis Fish. Thank you for the 5 months.
Subscribed. Prime Day.
Demonstrations used to be whole industry workforces coming out. You know, here are all the miners. They're basically demonstrating that they could shut this industry down.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the 60s, and I won't go through my whole spiel on that, it turned into the demonstration being the be-all, end-all, and it being about spectacle. And
True.
So definitely
True. Yeah, exactly.
Things that I'd been a part of in the 80s, 90s, and even early 2000s were like, let's get a bunch of people on the street and then and now don't get me wrong, spectacle is necessary for people to.
But this is literally what happened with ICE, right? Not like, this is not like a diss, right? Obviously it's not like a diss to like organizers for like ICE protests and stuff. But what happened is it turned into spectacle, right? ICE, anti-ICE turned into No Kings. No Kings disappeared. What have we gotten from No Kings? People in dinosaur costumes and dildos and ICE facilities. That's what we got. You know? No more kings. We haven't had a king in here for a while. Good reports on the inefficiency of criminalism. At some point, I feel like this becomes commentary on humans' ability to perceive the problem, investigate bias, as well as lack of education. I mean, sure.
See that other people agree with them, but without a plan, people just get burnt.
You know, you can go to YouTube. I'm live on YouTube as well that you won't get ads on. Right? That's why I stream live on YouTube. That's why YouTube has 65 people there right now. That's right. I take care of my YouTube chatters. Has Minnesota changed after that general strike? No, not like measurably so. Yeah, but I'm not saying that it's bad. As Boots is saying here, I'm not saying that spectacle is bad, right? But spectacle is not bad. It's useful for garnering attention. But that's why we need to have a vision, right? To go back to my IKEA analogy, yeah, it's useful to like get a bunch of friends together to help you build your IKEA furniture. But if none of you have the directions and none of you have the instructions, you're not going to be any closer to building that furniture. Right? That shelf is still not going to be built. You're just going to have more people who more quickly screws in more screws. You know, hammers in more dowels. But you're not any closer to actually having that shelf built. You need to have some kind of vision, right? In order to get to where you want to get.
See that other people, get me wrong, spectacle is necessary for people to see that other people agree with them. But without a plan, people just get burnt out. People are like, damn.
Without a win, there is no confidence. The problem with having like a win but no plan is that people will already have no confidence. So you'll have the win and no confidence in the system because nothing works. You know what I mean? You can't just keep racking up small wins and expecting people to not get disillusioned, right? A third of the country still doesn't vote. So no matter how many small wins we rack up, we're still not radically shifting and changing the course of the movement if we don't have a plan on how do we do that. You know, we're doing 1,000 monkeys on a typewriter will eventually write Das Kapital. And that is true with infinite time, right? This is true. Like One monkey on a typewriter will inevitably write the entirety of Shakespeare's catalog. But that is the premise on that is the infinite time. Right? We don't have infinite time. Right? We are on a ticking time clock, right?
Against the Iraq war, we had 10 million people in the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It didn't do a damn thing.
But
because we didn't have a mass militant radical labor movement that could shut down industry.
I think that's the most important aspect of this is that obviously it takes all fronts to develop a mass movement. You do need to protest, but then you also need labor. You need labor militancy. And you also, I mean, you even need some semblance of even like the electoral route within the bourgeois democracy that a lot of people, I think, cast aside as like neutering these sorts of movements. And I understand that argument, of course, but it doesn't hurt to have people that are in the halls of power that can at least ease up the tension. It's not the end all be all, and I never think it is. But one thing that we're working on.
I think the issue is not, I don't think this issue specifically with Hasan. I think the issue is when people feel like it's the end all be all, right? Because even if Hasan doesn't think it's the end all be all, there are people who do think that. You know what I mean? There are people who do feel like it's the end all be all, and they're not getting the correct answers. Right? They're not getting the correct direction. Right? Again, to go back to my analogy, there are people who think that screwing in, screws into the board is building the shelf. And nobody is telling them that that's not what it's doing. You know what I mean? So those people need direction. Right? They need to understand that the engagement with electoralism is only a means, right? And it's not the end, right? It's only a factor into the wider movement. You know what I mean? But if you see the amount of tension that electoralism is getting, the reality is that people do feel like it's the end, right? That's kind of all we're talking about with politics right now, All we're talking about is how do we win back the Senate? That is just fundamentally the truth. That is the only thing we're discussing in the wider political landscape. That's what the discourse is. How do we win back the Senate? How do the Democrats maintain power and control? Most of Hasan's coverage is not labor strikes, it's electoral protest. It was a lot of labor strikes, right? It was a lot of community organizing. You know what I mean? The labor strikes are there to cover right now. There are labor strikes everywhere. There are labor strikes everywhere. Is electoralism really even a means? If we can shut down the entire industry with our labor power, what use are these politicians? It is technically a means, right? You may not think it's like an effective means. It is a means technically, right? Hasan's methodology, what he spoke to here, is not wrong, right? Whereas having one person in Congress who is amenable to your position is better than having zero, statistically speaking, right? We can say it's not effective technically, but that is true. It's very piecemeal, which is yet another layer of control. People don't flesh out their principles or whatever, and it's just these sub-quests that get addressed as if one doesn't have to do with the other. But I've always thought that things like homelessness, as in we fix that to fix society. Yeah, but that doesn't happen, We're talking about the charges rapid response in Minneapolis, for example, for their work against ICE. We got to talk about Flatwater. Yeah. That is a good point. That the FBI literally raided rapid response groups. right? And again, that is discussed, that is talked about, right? It just doesn't get the same sort of national attention as electoralism. It's not a Hasan problem, it's the lack of clarity problem of the people unifying party, labor organizing, and groups facilitate that for everyone, though. In your opinion, every bit of sand helps to stop the gears when it comes to anti-capitalism. I never said it was a Hasan problem. I didn't bring up Hasan. Right? The problem is if the ratio is 95% electoralism, 5% on the ground organizing, that's going to, one, lead to disillusionment because there's only so much you can do to electoralism, and two, also won't be effective. I'm saying that disparity is skewed, right? And we as a whole, I'm not saying that I'm not also responsible for this as well. Right? What I cover and choose to cover and don't cover, right, does also play a role in this. I'm a part of this ecosystem, chat. This is also a criticism of me. The way that we, as a whole, talk about politics, right, is skewed away from the organizing that is impactful and meaningful, and is overwhelmingly focused on electoralism. Right? That is an issue that all of us engage with. The fact that like what viewers choose to watch, what people who are online choose to talk about, what commentators choose to cover, all of that leads to electoralism being the focus, right? Because it's the small wins, it's the incremental wins. If we see a few more DSA members in Congress, right, a few more DSA mayors, it feels like we're winning. You know, it feels like we're winning. It feels like we're building the shelf, right? My point is that not that stuff is bad, but if we don't have a vision of what we want to do once we have that power, right? If we don't have a vision of what we want to accomplish once we have that power, then all of it's kind of meaningless, right? As like I said a few weeks ago, if every single Republican up in, you know, or whatever, and they disappear from the earth, and we have a 100% ratio of Democratic, they all get raptured, and we have a 100% ratio of heathen Democratic politicians, right? Do you genuinely think things will fundamentally change? Shingo, they were the 6 months in advance. Much appreciated.
I live like a capitalist every single day, Shank. I live as a capitalist.
I
live when I believe.
The Democrats did Las Vegas will happen before they let us assume power. Yes, it will. I think we covered this a little bit earlier, at least briefly. I think someone said this as well, right? But I think what happened in DC is also another good example of this, right? They here. This one, also 2023. DC Democrats sue to keep ranked choice voting in open primaries off the ballot. What unifying party, labor organizing, or group can facilitate that education direction for everyone, though? None. That's a top-down view that I don't subscribe to. I don't subscribe to like top-down version of politics. It's bottom up. It's, you know, all of us. That's why I said all of us together need to do this, right? And work together to do this. Also, you want to know something crazy, Chad? In this picture is one of my professors at Howard. I recognize his name. I didn't know he ran for whatever position that is. That's right. I did stalk some of my professors when I was applying for school. I don't think he won. When Blue said, I see a militant labor resistance able to make change under any party or politicians, I said, thank God. That's what I've been saying. Also, not spoilers. I haven't gotten there yet. But that's literally what I've been saying. That is quite literally what I've been saying. Right? I think I said it like 2 weeks ago, and I had chatters get mad at me. I said literally verbatim, it should not matter who is in power. If you hold enough power, you can force whoever is in power to do exactly what you want. I'm pretty sure I said exactly that. What was their argument? I was literally arguing about with a chatter, I think, who claimed to work on like Summer Lee's campaign or something, or like work to get Summer Lee elected or something like that. And I was arguing about like what the focus should be on if it's not like electoralism, right? And I said that it was the same conversation. I said that it should not matter who is in power, and it would not matter who is in power if you have the numbers. If you have the numbers, it does not matter who's in power. You can use that. And we probably find me saying this, right? I was probably live on YouTube when I said it too, right? But if you use effective political leverage, you can force whoever's in power, doesn't matter who it is, to do what you want. You know what I mean? Isn't a militant labor organizing and resistance top down though? No. No, it is not. It is bottom up. It starts with the workers. Electoralism is top down. Politician runs, they garner power from people to support their runs. Right? It's top down. It starts from the top. Right? Labor militancy and on the ground organizing is bottom up. It starts with the workers. It starts with community coming together for a shared common goal and interest. A lot of people don't understand that pretty much the entire process of progress is driven by mobilized activists and organizers getting elected people and other powers to do stuff. Yeah, the perfect example is the civil rights movement, right? Do we think that the American government in the 1960s was amenable to like black people's position and cared about black people's humanity? Or do we think that it was on the ground, bottom up organizing that forced the hand of the governmental system in order to do what they wanted? True, or Lincoln, like you talked about earlier. I think Lincoln is just a tad bit different because Lincoln was just stupid because he didn't even do it because he didn't even do it in a way that I think was like generally effective. But yeah, it's a similar concept, right here. Top down is not always bad, right? I did not claim it was. It's not, it's not like a bad thing inherently. It's just not as effective. Because you top down, you have to hope and pray that the people in power do what you want. Bottom up, you can force them to do so. You know what I mean? It's not inherently a bad thing.
About to go get the Henny.
Right? But it's just not as effective. It's also fragile, yeah. Solidarity Men in Black. No, Solitary Men in Black. I can't read it. Solitary Men in Black. Thank you for the 5 gifted subs. I'm sorry I called you Solidarity. That's not your name. The word movement contains an end to it. On the end is always pay every black person reparations, which of course what the U.S. People refuse to do. Now we have a never-ending movement. Yeah.
On, or at least I've been working on now, and maybe you'll disagree with me on this, is by way of the Democratic Socialists of America trying to elect anti-Zionists into positions of power. Not to say that will that their radicalism won't get effectively neutered in the process, but at least trying to have like some workings of a movement within
I never claimed that they were
halls of power, and then using the platform of elections to at least spread the messages far and wide. Because I think regardless of my criticisms of Bernie Sanders, his 2016 electoral run, this insurgent campaign that he launched against Hillary Clinton, exposed this dynamic between Democrats that were very clearly invested in the continuation of neoliberalism and not any different than the Republican Party was when it came to material changes, versus a Democrat that did not shy away from the moniker of socialism, which I think restarted or created a resurgence of a socialist movement that went far beyond what Bernie Sanders was advocating.
To be entirely fair, right? This is something I just thought about. The question remains to be asked, though, because people always like to laud Bernie Sanders as like making socialism popular. The question that has to be asked, though, is, was that the only way socialism became popular to people, right? Could that not have happened through like community-driven, community-focused organizing on the ground, right? I'm not saying Bernie Sanders wasn't helpful, right? And that it didn't benefit like the movement as a whole. But I think that like, I also don't think Hasan is saying that, but I think oftentimes when Bernie is like kind of utilized, the implication is, oh, we need to do electoralism because look at how popular Bernie made socialism, right? That's why we need to do that's why we need to do electoralism. That's why it's effective, right? It's effective because look at how popular Bernie Sanders made socialism, right? But like, the Black Panthers were Marxists before Bernie Sanders was like a politician. You know what I mean? Like, socialism was around, right? Its tenets were being like enacted in many different areas of the country. When capitalism still radicalized people, yeah. He's getting arrested for it. I think Bernie got popular in part due to grassroots movement. I agree with that. I'm not saying it's like
every single day, Shank. I live as a
they're not connected, right? But my point is that a lot of people have this mindset that like we need to do electoralism because of what Bernie Sanders brought, right? That we need to be invested in electoralism because look at what Bernie Sanders did for the movement. And the question that I'm posing that maybe I want you to think about is that the only way? And is that the most effective way? Right? Because we still ended up with Trump 1 and Trump 2. Right? With that conversation. You know what I mean? Fair enough, and I was a music major in college when those were the first that opened my mind up and got into Bernie.
For.
Yeah, I would say this, that definitely there's times in my life where I was like,
though, not just continuing white neoliberalism, but I don't know what part you're replying to. I said a lot there. I think it depends on your age for how you view the era of Bernie, to be honest. Maybe.
And I do still believe this,
Bernie,
but just to
that 2016.
I think it's all about the energy of the folks involved. Like sometimes what we would go through is this cycle where we're building this movement. And at one point, let's talk the early 2000s, you'd have this anti-war movement that built up and people were getting to a place like, what do we do? And considering, shutdowns, things like that. And then an election would come up. We got to get Kerry in, things like that. And then people would be lying. Radicals that I knew were lying to people saying Kerry was anti-war. And saying because
where have we heard that one before? I won't say it.
Had to do it to get Bush out. So articles that I knew, things like that, and then people would 2000s, you'd have this anti-war movement that built up, and people were getting to a place like, what do we do? And considering, shutdowns, things like that. And then an election would come up. We got to get Kerry in, things like that. And then people would be lying. Radicals that I knew were lying to people saying Kerry was anti-war. And saying because they just had to do it to get Bush out. So, but the point
where have we heard that before? Where have we heard that before? Where? Where have we heard that before? Isn't that kind of like identical to what people are doing about Graham Plattner? Right? But they're not gonna. I could go to the Twitch chat right now and they will see, they would all be agreeing with Boots here. Right? I can literally go to the Twitch chat right now and I can guarantee they're all agreeing with Boots here. Right? But they don't see it or how it's similar. Right? Because it's not about the person. Right? It's not about the individual. It's about the way that electoralism will cloud the minds of people. Right? Because it feels good to get superficial wins. Right? It feels good. It feels nice to have 2 or 3 or 4 people who are decent in Congress. Right? That feels like progress. It feels like progress. Right? That's why electoralism is so attractive to people. It pulls people in. It makes you want to be like, I'm in it. I'm doing politics. We're winning. Right? And I'm not here to burst your bubble. I'm only here to pose the question, right? Is it as effective as you think it is? I just want you to think about that. Just consider it. Right? Is it as effective as you think it is? Is it? Right? Are you missing the forest for the trees? Are you lost in the sauce of seeing number rise? Right? You see DSA membership grow, right? And you confuse that with like liberation. Are you seeing more members of Congress and you being socialist, you confuse that for liberation, right? I'm not claiming that it's bad to get people elected, but when that becomes the win, when that becomes the output, right? Are you really winning? Or is that what, the capitalists who, are in power want you to think? Right? Capitalists have enough money. Elon Musk is a trillionaire. He could buy every election if he wanted to. If he really wanted to, he could buy every election. Right? He's also a loser and he lost one election and he cried about it. But he has enough money. But do you think he won't? He won't. Right? That's why you see Republicans working with Democrats and Democrats working with Republicans, because they understand that despite their veneer of difference, right, they're safe. They're fundamentally safe. They're not threatened by a few more socialists in office. You know what I mean? And so just consider why you're doing it. Just ask yourself why. When you do something for the movement, right? Ask yourself why. Think about why. Is this more effective, right? Or is this like my end goal? When you get a win, any win, right? Ask yourself, is this my end goal? Am I fine with the state of society if this thing comes to pass? You know what I mean? If you think about Graham Plattner getting elected, right? All that I ask you to do is think, when Graham Plattner is elected, is that, right, the end goal? Is that society that I want to live in? Right? And if the answer is no, it's a step. It's not the end. Right? You're not there. And so don't treat it as such. Williams Plattner is the end. He's a tool. I mean, you can look at the way people talk about him. We literally looked at Kyle Klinsky saying that like Graham Plattner getting elected will like stop fascism. At the very least, Kyle Klinsky thinks it's the end. He said he said these words. He said Graham Plattner getting elected will stop fascism. The way that people interact with politics is that you just need to have democratic control and then we win. Right? We just need to have a few more Democratic senators, a few more Democratic representatives, and then we win. Right? My plea to you is understand what liberation actually is. Liberation is not more Democrats being elected. It's not. It's not. I also don't care about your thoughts on Graham Plattner. I want to tell you this right now before you waste any more time talking about it. I do not care what you think about Graham Plattner. My point is purely that we need to have a roadmap as to what it means to be liberated. Liberation is not just more Democrats than Republicans. Liberation is not just allowing or like, you know, getting more people elected as a whole, right? Liberation, right, is living in a world, right, in a just world where we are not being directly crushed under the boot of capitalism, you know, or indirectly. Like, liberation is living in a world that is free of racism, right? Liberation is living in a world that is free of like transphobia and homophobia. Liberation is living in a world where there is no expansive military-industrial complex for the expansion of the American empire. Liberation is living in a world where people aren't going hungry. Liberation is living in a world where people are not sleeping on the streets and housing is deep commodified, right? This is what liberation is. Right? Take 5 minutes off. I literally just told you I don't care about your thoughts on Graham Plattner. I told you to save your time. Stop talking about Graham Plattner. I don't care what you think about Graham Plattner. Genuinely. He's an example. You can literally replace Graham Plattner with Zohran Mamdani, right? Or Kamala Harris, or I don't freaking know, anybody. Literally anybody. It doesn't matter. You literally any politician. This is a Plattner hostile space. This is true. The point is that it doesn't matter who the politician is per se, right? You as an individual need to have a focus on what the goal actually is, right? The goal is liberation. It's not getting people elected. You know? The best version of Hasan's argument would be a politician using a campaign to tell people that whether the candidate wins or not, nothing will change without organized workers.
Is that all this energy, those movements turned into just electoral movements. And the thing that was interesting to me is that I don't remember which campaign it was that where I did say that people should vote for Bernie. It must have been the 2020, yeah, and that was because I talked to some folks in the campaign. And the whole idea was to call for it as a way to fight to get Medicare for all was going to have to be from those platforms from a presidential platform to call for people to strike and shut down the areas of folks that weren't that weren't going along with it. So I thought of it as a way to heighten the conflict. And I do, what I would say is this, is that I think that in some cases it can be pulling energy away from the radical. I
would go as far as saying in a lot of cases. See how he talks, see how even when he talks about electoralism, his end goal is labor strikes. Exactly. Also, Emilio facing over the 13 months. What is a strategy that you think should take priority to make change? I mean, I don't specifically think that like a strategy should take priority over another strategy to make change per se, right? I've never made the case for that. I literally just said it. My goal is to make you think about whenever you take any action, whatever the action is, right? Think about whether or not that is the win. So you don't get lost in getting like pseudo wins. That's it. My goal is to make you think differently, right? My goal is to make you consider things differently when you engage with electoralism. So when you do electoralism, you know that this is a means to an end, right? It's not just, we need to beat Susan Collins so that Susan Collins loses and that's the win, right? It's not just, we need to get another Democrat elected who's like left wing because that's a win, right? My goal, my point is like filter everything you do in politics through the lens of what the end goal actually is, which it should be liberation. I think the problem is that the end goal for a lot of people is not liberation. The end goal for a lot of people is not the same thing as my end goal for a lot of things, right? When I say this consistently, I say that my position in politics is specifically focused and tailored around like stopping harm for marginalized people and the liberation of all people, right? That's my goal in politics. A lot of people don't believe that, right? So for them, the win is getting more Democrats elected. Like vote blue no matter who. You know what I mean? Vote blue no matter who is the perfect example, right? Liberals who think vote blue no matter who. For those liberals, the win is just more blue.
Sean the Black says,
right?
She's my
the win is just more Democrats.
Father's mind just subscribe.
That is the end all be all. They don't care about like the liberation of all people, right? They may care about like, sometimes they care about some topics like abortion, right? Sometimes they care about voting rights, right? But for them, the win is getting people elected. That's a win to liberals. And I think a problem that we have now with a lot of leftists is that they're falling into a very similar camp, which is the win is just the perception of power, right? They want to have a bigger gun than their opponent, right? They don't want to actually like win the fight. They just want to have. It's like it's dick swinging for a lot of people, right? It's we beat you, right? It's my team beat your team. It's not about the liberation. My point is I want you to make sure that you still care about the liberation. They want their camp to be the top capitalists. Potentially. Is it even that? Because Pelosi and then talk about a strong Republican Party? No, it is that, right? They want to chatter. I'm glad you said this, right? You don't want to play against a team that's not at their best. You know what I mean?
King Tag gifted a tier 1 sub.
You don't want to win against a team that sucks. They want to have a strong Republican Party because they want to like beat that team. You know what I mean? Aren't they the 20% unmovable votes? Be them a Republican or Dem that vote for a team sport, not for change due to varied reasons. I don't know what you mean. So, King, thank you for the gifted sub.
Militant labor movement that we want, but sometimes there could be a way for it to help out, such as the getting rid of some Taft-Hartley, things like that.
Yeah,
those could be ways that could open up. The thing that I think would need to.
And I think a part where we may be talking past each other, or like where I think people might not be understanding what I'm saying is this. Again, I've never said that electoralism is inherently a bad thing. The problem is just the focus, the amount of focus that is on electoralism is disproportionate, right? You have to at least admit that the amount of focus that exists on electoralism is disproportionate to the amount of focus that the wider leftist movement puts on organizing. It is disproportionate. It's how do we like this person? How do we like that person? How does this person or this politician affect this movement or this and that and this and that? It's always focused on electoralism, at least more than I think the ratio should be. I'm not saying it should be like 0% electoralism, whatever, but I think that we should at least try to pull it back to some moderating degree because we understand that electoralism will lead to disappointment, right? If you understand that the electoral movement will neuter leftist voices, right? You also have to understand that those same electoral movements, right, will disillusion voters, right? I agree with you. I think Hasan and other leftists do too. They're playing a political game to engage in North American politics. Am I wrong or I'm missing something? I mean, yeah, but my point is that the game is not effective, right? My point is that the game that we're playing with is engaging in electoral politics, right, stops us from being as involved with effective organizing on the ground. You know what I mean?
Sean the Black.
That's my point.
She's my African princess.
Because I was finally energy back to the Democrats, though. I don't think it means he wouldn't agree with me. You can believe what you want to believe about electoral strategy in that regard. You know what I mean? Oh, my back cracked. And that was my neck too.
How it would need to be put out is a thing that doesn't say, because the problem with elections sometimes is you say, this is the answer. Let's get our thing I've seen.
I think the issue is again. I think if we open up the chat, I think chat will also agree with this. I think the issue is that people will say that like it's not, and obviously it's not. My issue is with just the amount of effort put into electoralism kind of betrays that idea, right? This is not about like Hasan and Caroline specifically. This is just about like the way we talk about electoralism, right? People will always say that, no, this is just a means to an end. No, this is a tool that we're using, right? But the amount of focus and energy put into it kind of betrays that, right? It betrays that. It's just not the case. It's treated like it's a means to an end. Or, sorry, it's treated like it's the end all be all. There's not really a way I can describe that if you haven't seen it yourself, right? But it's treated like it's the end all be all. And we saw it with the. And I'll pull up the Kyle. Here, I'll pull up the Kyle tweet one more time. We're talking about a Grand Platinum. I want you to, when I play this, I want you to just think about it from this lens, right? Think about, is the way that Kyle is talking here, talking about this being a tool we can use? Or is he talking about the election itself as though it is the win? As though it is like liberation and in progress? You know what I mean? This is a point where you have to kind of like use your like 8th grade English or literature arts skills, literary art skills to like kind of get the you know what I mean? Get the full picture.
Doing this as fascism is rapidly taking over this country? Is that what we're doing? Are we actually doing this as innocent immigrants are being frog marched into concentration camps and they're being tortured and raped? Are we really doing this as Trump is protecting the Epstein class cabal of pedophile rapists? Are we really doing this as Trump launches a new war every other week and is illegally attacking Iran and bombing schools and hospitals? Are we really doing this as Trump and his billionaire buddies loot the treasury and rob us fucking blind? Are we really doing this as we're on the brink of a fucking Great Depression because of Trump's incompetence and stupidity and mismanagement? Are we really trying to kneecap the only Democrat that can take down Susan Collins in this moment when the whole fucking control of the Senate might come down to this? And you're gonna talk about Democratic toxic masculinity? Oh my word. Oh no. Oh no. I'm sorry. We left this shit back in woke 1.0. I guess you haven't got the motherfucking memo, bro.
Okay, I will pause this for a second to say it is kind of funny to say this, but also like use a term like grape instead of just saying rape.
This is left back in woke 1.0. Now we're in woke 2.0. This shit is known as dark woke, meaning all the Republicans can suck my nuts from the back. That's what that means. Meaning, we don't fucking police each other. Excuse me, did you just call Donald Trump fat? Because that's actually really crude and fat-phobic. I don't give a fuck. He's a fat, pedophile, war criminal, rapist, racist, fascist, con man. Who are we kidding? They're every negative thing in the book. I will call them every negative thing in the book. I will say that Stephen Miller is a disgusting, ugly little twerp fuck, okay? And you want to call me toxically masculine for doing it? That's your problem. That's a you problem. That's not a me problem. Okay? And the fact of the matter is, most of the Democratic base are with us now, or with me now, or with the uncensored leftists who are telling the truth. See, it's just a disgusting hit piece, trying to use identity politics and woke 1.0 language to take down the only hope we have of actually defeating MAGA fascism. It's a necessity to take back the Senate in order to defeat MAGA fascism. You are going to do this as opposed to, I don't know, you should write a think piece about the fascism of Susan Collins, or how she ends up helping toxic masculinity because she emboldens MAGA fascism. How about that think piece? No, you have a bone to pick because you wanted Mills to win. Mills didn't. She shit the bed. Now you're furious that leftists got the better of you. And so your leftist derangement syndrome has overtaken your rational brain, and you're fine with shitting on the left, even if that means letting MAGA continue to run this country into a fucking ditch and destroy everything. It's humiliating. It's embarrassing. You should be fucking ashamed of yourself. And allow me to say on the record right the fuck now, if Janet Mills had beaten Graham Plattner, I'd be fucking arguing for her like nobody's business. I'd break out my motherfucking pom-poms and be on air like, go Janet, go Janet. Why? Because we need to defeat the fascists. The fascists, the imperialists, the warmongers. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So, but thank you for your contribution to the discourse.
So do you understand what I'm saying when I say, like, electoralism is treated like it is the end goal? Does that make sense? Did you see that in this video? Electoralism is treated like it's the end goal. It's not treated as a means to an end. It's not treated as a stepping stone to get to a wider liberatory movement. It's treated as though it is the end goal, and the kind of skewed coverage you see from the Putnam class about electoralism, right, is the, like, it is an issue. You know what I mean? That time, do you remember where you got the black and gold scarf from Streamer Awards? I gotta find it. So what is the end goal here? Liberation. That's not what I got from what he just said. I don't know how to explain it to you. Genuinely. I don't know how to explain it to you. If you don't see that the way that Kyle is covering, like, electoralism in this specific instance does not lead to, like, a furthering of the liberatory movement, right? Or an emancipatory movement. And it's just merely about, like, you know, get people elected, fascism over kind of thing. Right? That's how it's being positioned. It's not about building a liberatory movement. Right? It's not about building a movement that is centered on the lives of marginalized people. He just said he would vote for Mills. Mills ain't helping us. He literally said vote blue no matter who. And I there's no way I can describe. If this was a liberal, you would understand that, right? If this was a liberal saying we need to go Kamala Harris to stop MAGA Republicans, you would understand how, like, they view electoralism as the end goal. I don't think anyone thinks that it's that simple. Chatter. I don't know how else to describe this to you. You have to do a little bit of work yourself. You have to do a little bit of analysis yourself. They're not going to literally say, I only think elections are all that matters, right? You have to take the totality of what they cover and how they cover it to come to some kind of conclusion. Please. Please. The way that elections have taken over the discourse of the left, right? And the way that they talk about elections saving, right, the lives of people, you can take that and then come to that conclusion. Kyle said today that he thinks Kamala wouldn't bomb Iran. He's not that slick. We covered it earlier today. We covered it earlier today. Right? The point that I'm trying to make is that the way that the wider left as a whole treats elections, right, is a disservice to actually building the movement. Are there people talking about elections saving anything? I don't know. Kyle literally just said that. He literally said that electing Graham Plattner would stop MAGA fascism. I don't know how else to spell this out to you. So he describes it, reminds me of how libs think their politics revolve around elections. We saw with Harris losing, there's no solidarity. When the reaction is to declare that they're calling ICE and such, yes, it's very similar. I'm not even saying that elections are bad and you shouldn't participate in them, right? I'm saying that the way that the wider left engages with elections, right, and electoralism does a disservice to the wider movement because it will lead people to being disillusioned. Right? If you talk to voters, they will say, I am disillusioned with the Democratic Party because I voted for Joe Biden and he didn't cancel my student loans. Right? I am disillusioned with the Democratic Party because, or even Republicans, I am disillusioned to Donald Trump because, he said no new wars and he's doing wars or whatever. Right? And that is foundational to the electoral system. It is. A leftist is not going to get in office and then immediately like make no mistakes and not and save people from disillusionment. Right? The system does not lead to them being able to liberate people, and so people who need liberation are going to be eventually become disillusioned with the system. Right? Elections will not save the country. That's why you need to have a movement that centers and focus on the experience of marginalized people, doing on the ground organizing that can then push for the actual end goal. You know what I mean? Right? People acting like this is hard to understand. Elections are a means to an end. These officials are supposed to be our tools. I don't know. I'm literally just saying that we should focus, right, on other things besides elections as well. And we're currently not doing that. Currently, elections take up all of our time. And we should be focusing on other things as well as elections. Right? I'm not saying that you can't do electoralism. I'm not saying you can't like electoralism. Right? I'm saying that there is currently a disproportionate coverage of elections. And that needs to be solved. That is my position. And that's what Boots is talking about here. Right? He's saying when you have this hyperfixation on electoralism as a strategy, you will inevitably lose people, right? You will inevitably lose people because the electoral system is going to fail people. It's designed to fail people. It's literally designed to fail people, right? So you have to understand that people are going to, you need to have a vision that is pointed towards the liberation of all people, right? And elections, if elections are this is why I'll say this. If elections are genuinely a tool for the wider movement, they should be spoken about like a tool for the wider movement, right? It's like you're building a shed and you spend all of your time playing with a screwdriver. Do you think if you spend all of your time drawing lines in the sand with a screwdriver, the shed's gonna get built? Do you believe in organized socialist third party outside of the duopoly? Yes. Right? That's my take. And if people are watching you, waiting for you to build the shed, and they just see you effing around with the screwdriver, they're gonna get tired and bored and they'll leave. Right now, the electoral system is the screwdriver. It's supposed to be a tool, but it's become the entire focus, right? It's supposed to be a tool to a wider movement, but it's become the entire focus. It's become the only thing people talk about, care about, and discuss. That's my point. Right? And that will lead people to be disillusioned with the wider movement. It will. If it is actually a tool, we should treat it like the tool that it is. We should not be spending 2 years out of a 4-year presidency talking about elections, essentially. Right? Maybe even 4 years out of a 4-year presidency. There's never a time we don't talk about elections. Right? Everything is filtered through how do we do elections? How do we get people elected? Right? Who do we need to get elected? You know what I mean? If the electoral college is the screwdriver, well, not the electoral college, the electoral system is a different thing. Electoral college should be abolished. It sucks. Then what do the other building tools and other materials represent? A number of different things, right? It'll be like, the wood planks for the shed would be the labor movement, right? And unions, right? The mallet would be like tenant unions. The I don't know. What does the shed have? The lights would be the immigrant rights movements and the women's rights movements and the abortion movement, right? Like stuff like that. Like it's all stuff that we should all be be helping to build this wider liberatory movement, right? They're all things that should get our focus because they're all necessary to building the shed. We also mainly talk about federal and state level elections at most. We never talk about local elections, labor movements, city councils, which are fundamentally more important because they're not as flashy. You know, KJ's discussed electoralism pretty well with FD and Jared Ball on his second channel. I think I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I think I saw it pop on my feed. Right, but that's kind of the point. You know what I mean? Is that like electoralism is a tool and it should be treated like a tool. But right now it's treated like the only thing that matters. Who knows best how to build this shed in this metaphor, I guess? Well, everybody's building the shed, right? Right now, we have like millions of people who are all gathered around the screwdriver staring at it, waiting for it to do something. Waiting for it to jump up on itself and then start screwing stuff in. Right? My position is literally that we should all, right, turn away from the screwdriver. Some people can still pick the screwdriver up and use it, but we should start working on other aspects of the shed. Right now, that's not happening, and my take is that it should be happening. Right now, there is too many eyeballs on the screwdriver. Take this metaphor more literally, please. This is true. I do need a shed. Like you always use analogies. One day you need to come up with a crazy one. I do always use analogies. This is true. Mechanic here, it's not going to screw itself. True.
Do stuff, and so I'm a little bit more open to that. But what I will say is that the only way for that to really be able to be things to be in tandem with each other is with an actual party, with an actual revolutionary party. And I do see that there are inside the DSA, there's more radical sections than others. But I think that we also, we need parties. We need people that are dedicated to figuring out this as a strategy. And that being part of a larger strategy. And if the primacy of organizing that mass militant radical labor movement can be out there, then even those politicians can have a little bit more power to do.
Don't think of it 34.
Yeah, I'm not I don't think voting for Kamala Harris or voting for Joe Biden over Donald Trump is somehow going to make it easier to organize. I don't believe that at all. As a matter of fact, we've seen that the contradictions heighten when you have reactionary politicians. It's just that my assessment of the situation is that if you do have someone who is unafraid of calling themselves a socialist and actually abides by real socialist values, real socialist principles, the electoral route is it's basically flipping the script and using elections as a way to reach a mass movement, using the viability and the legitimacy under bourgeois democracy to reach the masses and maybe foment some kind of class consciousness, understanding that it's not the end all be all. As a matter of fact, it's not even the most consequential aspect of organizing.
Well, and since you talk about fomenting class consciousness, I think that sometimes electoral politics is the thing that confuses people on class consciousness, on a class analysis, because the question.
I don't disagree with Boots here, but to be honest, I don't think he's ever really been exposed or directly involved with any organizing that Boots is talking about. I think Hasan is aware of like the conceptual basis behind like what Boots is discussing, right? But I still think Hasan has a view that what he does is effective for the reason that he thinks, you know? It's like, I don't think like he's going to be like, convinced with like, you know, by Boots to like give up electoralism or whatever. I think it's more just like, I think he puts more stake. This is something I just disagree with Hasan with. I think he puts more stake in elections, electoralism than I would personally. So he doesn't know how to engage with it, even though he does believe in it. As long as nodding along and not listening, to be honest. No, I think he's listening. I just think that I don't want to say stuck in his ways. It's just he has an idea of what he thinks is like effective movement building, right? Again, I don't think he's wrong per se. My disagreement with Hasan is not that he conceptually is wrong, but I think he puts more emphasis on it than I would, right? I think he gives more energy to the electoral framework that I think is necessary for that to be the case.
Sean the Black says,
you know what I
"She's
mean?
my African princess."
Like, I think it's true that
subscribed.
there is a usefulness in a popular politician calling themselves a socialist, giving license to other people to call themselves a socialist. And that's fair and that's correct, right? But I think that is almost meaningless if it doesn't come coupled with those socialists then doing socialist things. Does that make sense? It does create awareness. People that did not think like that before getting sensitized to the idea of socialism in that way. Yeah, but again, I think that that's meaningless if those people are not actually doing socialism, right? That has to come coupled with giving them the tools to then advocate in their own communities. You know what I mean? Same with many people in this space, to be honest. They have come to the conclusion about class consciousness without actually engaging with class struggle. People are militant because the conditions are so dire that they arrive to struggle with nothing to lose. Yes. I think it's also why I think it's a good point of like the type of people we're talking about who get radicalized through electoralism, right, are not the same type of people who are faced with that degree of struggle, right? Like the type of people who got brought to socialism from Bernie Sanders are not the most vulnerable in the population. You know what I mean? Like those people, the people who are the most vulnerable, don't need to be told that socialism is good by Bernie Sanders, right? They already believe the tenets of socialism. They may just not know the name, right? Because they live in the conditions, right, that need to be adjusted. So that is also an added point of like, who does the focus on electoralism serve the most, right? I think there's an argument you can say that serves disproportionately the people on the bi-coast, right? The people who live in California, right? Who live in like Oregon, who live in even Philly or New York or DC, right? Like, because what about the people who are vulnerable, who live in like red states, who live in Kansas, who live in Mississippi, who live in Alabama, right? Who live in Arkansas, right? What good is it if they are introduced to socialism by Bernie Sanders, but again, they don't have the resources to help them organize. They don't have the know-how or the knowledge to help them organize. Nobody is telling them or helping them build a union in their workplace, right? Or how do you deal with a corporation trying to break up your union, right? That's what I'm saying, is that electoralism is useful, right? But it needs to be coupled with on-the-ground organizational efforts. It needs to. That is a requirement. And I don't think that that's happening enough. Right? I think there was a time in 2021, 2022 where it happened more with the ALU, with Starbucks Workers United, with SEIU, AFL-CIO. Like there were unions that grew, UAW, right? The Longshoremen. There was like hot labor summer that happened in like 2021, right? 2022, right? That had a very huge emphasis on like building worker power through unions, right? And that was very beneficial for that regard. And electoralism is not bad, but I feel like we've kind of left that behind in favor of electoralism. You know? And maybe it has to do with like Donald Trump being in office. Like under Joe Biden, people felt like, well, now we don't have to focus on getting Republicans out. We can now do union stuff. But now that Donald Trump is in office, like, well, now we have to focus all our energy on getting Donald Trump out to So put the union stuff on the back end, you know?
Is how does power work, right?
Yeah.
And how do we express our power? And like you said, the
people
main
already
way
forgotten that multiple large unions set contracts to be negotiated in May Day 2028. Like, we need to be ready for this moment. Exactly, right? Exactly. But we've put a lot of emphasis on getting Democrats elected for something, you know, for the win, right? But I guarantee you, May Day is going to come in 2028, right? And we're not going to be ready to go on a general strike. We won't have the infrastructure for a general strike. We won't have the class consciousness for a general strike because we spent all of our time trying to get a dozen, like, DSA members in office, right? Which I'm not saying that that's bad to do, right? But if we split our time now, to actually doing coverage on like on unionization efforts, on the ground organizing, we're going to be prepared for that. But I can promise you that come 2028, general strike doesn't happen, we're going to be looking around and being like, why didn't it happen? Why does it not happen? Why we don't do general strike? Where general strike at? You know what I mean? And we're going to be surprised Pikachu face. We'll have those 12 DSA members in Congress, but we're going to be like, why is it not happening? I guess we have to wait for the next one. Infrastructure is required for a general strike. I want to see what I can do locally. If you're not part of a union at your workplace already, try to start one. Right? If you are, try to talk to your representatives about, getting ready to start saving for a strike fund, start fundraising for a strike fund. I don't know your personal. If you're already part of a large union, they're already probably having talks about these things in the leadership, right? Just like, if you're not part of the union, you gotta join a union. EWOC is a good place to start. They helped me start the union at my workplace. My workplace doesn't have a union. I'm working on class consciousness with my coworkers currently. But the funniest part about that is you don't need to. You don't need to have class consciousness with your worker in order to start a union. That's actually not a prerequisite, right? Because your workers and you have something inherently in common in that you want to get paid more. You want to work in a safe place. They don't need to have a socialist position on literally anything to be self-interested. All you have to do is appeal to their self-interest, right? Everybody wants to get paid more. Everybody wants a bigger bonus at the end of the year. Everybody wants to have job security, right? And once they are in the union, then you can work on, dripping in the class consciousness. The
working class is going to be able to express their power. You didn't say this, but I think you were going there. Is through withholding labor.
I will say, Silicon Valley tech companies do unionize and they do organize. It is rough. I know that it's rough for Silicon Valley. Was a good intro to learn class consciousness and all these terms. I mean, you can look it up, honestly. It depends on for what. I'm a big proponent of using theory for a reason. While it's good to educate yourself about Das Kapital Volume 1 or whatever, if you want to organize a union or if you're in a place without a union, I encourage you to start by unionizing, right? I encourage you to do theory for a purpose. Right? Marx is very dense. It's very dense and it might not be applicable to you at this current moment. So if you're black, you read black theorists who have themselves condensed Marx, right? If you're a woman, read women theorists who have themselves condensed Marx to get your foot in the door, right? Read theory about something you're interested in. If you're interested in labor, read labor history. If you're interested in like capitalism, just capitalism as a concept, Marx is a decent orator about capitalism as a concept, right? If you want to read about Stating Revolution, read Stating Revolution by Lenin. There's a number of different things you can read, but I say start with your interest area. You know, it's like learning to draw. I won't tell somebody who wants to learn how to draw anime to like learn how to learn how to draw freaking birds or something. You know, start where you're interested and then go from there.
And through being able to shut down sections of industry, whole industries, in order for us to get there. I think often what's sold to us is in order to even win the election, you've got to get a lot of people often to say that this is a game changer. This guy's a game changer.
Mm-hmm. Why all the non-blacks to the back is I know why it's trending. Because of the song. You know what? I got to play the song too. Juneteenth. I forgot to play it.
All the nine blacks to the back, all the 9 blacks to the back, nigga. Blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. You know they say the bigger the bush, the deeper the roots. I'm knowing it's a bitch like me that's being produced, but you can't. I'll do the doer, I'm doing the do, puss. I ain't beefing with bitches, they need to get in the booth. They steady singing my name, I need to give them some tune. They throwing salt on the player cause they can't get in the room. Okay, I'm sweeping these bitches, they wanna spit on the broom. All the cute black girls streaming my shit. Ego so big, niggas feeding my shit. I need my reparations, bitch, you gotta bring me my shit. These bitches my kids, I've been dreaming about fish, Black bitch, but the purse Murakami. These black ass roots go beyond me. You never supposed to put your purse on the ground, but I'm slamming this coin purse on the concrete. Bow. All the 9 blacks to the back. All the 9 blacks to the back. Hold on, damn. All the 9 blacks to the back. All the 9 blacks to the back, nigga. Honey on my tongue, I'm talking slicker than.
Why'd you block pop bass? Everyone should block pop bass.
Ass fat, you know that I'm walking thicker than hoes. Bitches talking in a circle, a bunch of rigmarole. I ain't shaking white hands, I watch them digging they hole. All the 9 blacks to the back.
Oh, they didn't show the cookout line. Anyway, I pop bass block too, as you should. Sorry, happy Juneteenth.
And so therefore I gotta, like that, and it becomes a letdown afterward because people have been spending that time not doing
what? Sorry. Apparently, Twitch will soon launch a withdraw from sub option for European Union users who, within 14 days of subscribing, can receive a full refund. Dog. I'm cooked. Free half weeks in Europe. You can just keep subscribing and then withdrawing to cancel it every 14 days. No one here from Europe, don't worry. No, I stream so early that a lot of people here are from Europe. I have a lot of European chatters because I stream so early. My husband won't recover. Chad, if you do this, you know what happens to you. That's right.
Organizing on their job or anything like that. But if you're saying that there's a way to do both, then I'm all game.
That's
like that. And
earlier on the phone, telling his friend about Juneteenth. Why should I celebrate a holiday where the oppressor decides to free me? I'm supposed to be happy about that. You know what? Valid. To be fair, though, the holiday is not about the oppressor deciding to free Black people. It's about Black people finding out that they are no longer enslaved. Right? It'll be like celebrating the Emancipation Proclamation. I think that's slightly different.
Comes
over the whole Boots movie or footed by
a letdown afterward because people
I talked about it briefly
that time
a few weeks ago when it first happened.
doing not organizing on their job or anything like that. But if you're saying that there's a way to do both, then I'm all game for that.
That's my method of change, and this is controversial amongst many leftists as well, who will routinely criticize me and say that I'm like dampening revolutionary potential, and I'm an impediment to more revolutionary politics.
Which I think I've seen criticisms of your.
I also don't think Hasan is an impediment to revolutionary politics. I think that is silly. Like Hasan is, I think it's silly to say that even if you believe Hasan is like funneling people back into the Democratic Party, like they weren't going to be like revolutionary themselves inherently anyway, right? We have to do work as the left to get them there, right? Like that, like we're just not doing our jobs. You know, that's kind of the way I view it.
Where people complain it's not revolutionary enough. Similar with Hasan, where they're like, he's not leftist enough. But the idea, I think, is that having this funnel where Hasan is not the revolution. You know, art, no matter how radical it is not the revolution itself. But I think there's the purpose of inspiring that collective action of like appealing to a wide audience, to the mainstream.
As you can. I'm not here to convince you that Hasan is like a revolutionary or anything, you know? Like the way that I view my stream is this. One, you can't defend Graham Plattner. That's rule number one. But I also have been very open that like you don't have to like the people that I like, and you don't have to dislike the people that I like, except for Graham Plattner. So you can be in here while like, you know, not agreeing with Hasan, and that's fine. You know, that's okay. Like that's fine. You can also be in here and you can like Hasan. That's okay. The exception is Graham Plattner. You can't defend Graham Plattner. You can't defend Graham Plattner here. That is an exception to the rule. Where they're trying to leverage stand. Okay, don't put that on me. Don't put that on me.
Inspire that organizing and that collectivism.
Now here's what I always say is like, if you do have a mass militant radical labor movement, it doesn't matter who's in office. You can make them do whatever you want.
I guarantee, chat, please corroborate. I said exactly this. I said exactly this, probably during one of the Graham Plattner Power Hours. I did say this. I said that it does not matter who's in office. If you have the numbers, you can force them to do whatever you want to. And that is objectively true. I'm here because I know you don't like Plattner. I'm a Syrian Iraqi woman, and I feel pretty isolated from other U.S. leftists. It's not been fun. Yeah, you have a safe place here by not liking Plattner. I can't guarantee other things, but you do have a safe space here if you don't want to see Plattner lays. Actually, I'm pretty sure that Boots heard you say it this stream.
Sean the Black says
sure, you heard you say it this stream, and then he repeated it years ago or days ago. He's a time traveler. Where power comes from below, yeah. This is true. Incorrect. Bear Silly, thank you for the 37 months. That's crazy. Much appreciated. What subs are we at now? We're at 807 subs. W. I'm gonna sidetrack, but something odd is that it's never but something odd is never here when and why Plattner removed the tattoo. I am aware. I won't get into it though. I won't get into it, I promise.
So that's why that's primary to create, because
I will say I don't necessarily agree with this, right? I think Hasan does know how to educate people on unionizing and organizing, right? I do think he knows, right? He did it, like, if you watch Hasan in 2021, 2022, like, he covered, like, unionization a lot, right? He spoke to union organizers. He brought union organizers on the stream. Like, what happened? I think Kamala Harris losing broke a lot of leftists' brains. No, it was October 7th. I think Kamala Harris losing broke a lot of leftists' brains. As it pertains to like elections, But then Zoran winning gave so much hope that like I think Hasan like doubled and tripled down on electoralism. He's like, if I could do this with Zoran, right? I want to be able to do this with other places. The Dems bought him off too. No, the Dems did not buy him off. He goes, his platter says he removed Nazi tattoo that resembles Nazi symbols. October 2025 is unpolitical. Yeah, I don't want to get into platter. I don't want to get into it. I can't do another platter stream right now. I did not cover the Ta-Nehisi Coates article. If you hit a link to it, I'll send it. That's it. I'll look at it. Hold on. Yo, that's crazy. I just got a notification. I literally just got a notification from Twitch about a sponsorship. It's already no longer available. How quick do y'all click the button, bro? It's fine. I have 2 sponsorships lined up. My plan on Juneteenth is nasty work. True.
Since you know, obviously you've talked about the port shutdowns, the general strike, if you will, in Italy, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was, and now, however small the victory was there, that was somebody that was, you know, as right wing as Trump, being forced to at least send a naval ship out to pretend to protect the flotilla to Gaza. Now, there's a, you know, if you just had a you know, radical politician in there, without that movement, you wouldn't be able to get anything happening like that. And also, but also, you could have a right-wing politician in there and have that movement, and you can make, you know, whatever happens.
They have to be responsive to this pressure, and the most powerful tool that labor has, that regular folk have, is their power to withhold their labor.
Yeah.
I've said jokingly earlier today that there's a Strait of Hormuz everywhere for those with eyes to see.
I said that, man.
Oh, you said that too?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's dope. I didn't. Well, but that was.
Well, we both said it.
Well,
Yeah.
because like what Iran was capable of doing, and now that there's this MOU being signed,
it's not inherently white. It's overwhelmingly and disproportionately white. Right. This is why I talked about the Keith Edwards tweet with being like, I talked with a 2020 presidential candidate about me joining their campaign, but they said they already had too many white men or whatever. Like, white people and white men specifically are disproportionately overrepresented in the electoral system. Like, in all levels of government.
How that goes,
Yeah.
obviously, is
like it wasn't artillery shells that gave the U.S. pause. It was stopping the cash flow.
Yes. And it exposes the fragility of this international design, because capitalism requires a hegemonic superpower to keep everything as stable as possible. Although that stability is obviously very unstable for those who live in the periphery and even the working class that we would consider.
I mean, depending on how you define org, that could technically be true. Like, I don't know what definition you would use, but like there is a definition of org where that could be the case. And also some definition of diversity that could also be the case. But I have not seen the clip now. I don't know, maybe you made a point. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Living in the heart of empires, the labor aristocracy, no one is actually getting a good deal out of this bargain, with the exception of parasitic capital, international capital. And they are the ones who are benefiting from this. And I think, I try to use moments like this for agitated propaganda to show that, like, yeah, Iran didn't win this battle because they were capable of defeating the mightiest force that anyone's ever seen, the U.S. military. They were not capable of defeating the United States militarily, but they were capable of doing something much more powerful, which is to harm the centers of profit.
Yeah.
Take punish international capital whenever the American or Israeli forces were to strike deep into Iran, hit a bank. They would turn around and say, we're going to start striking American banks in Saudi Arabia or in the United Arab Emirates. And I think that was what really accelerated this process. And, obviously stopping the transiting of all oil and gas from the Strait of Hormuz, which is 20% of the world's energy.
Here's my take. I think the ratio between the way the left talks about electoralism versus on the ground organizing should be flipped. Thoughts?
Forced.
I think it should be inverse. Elaborate some.
Are there?
The way we talk about electoralism has taken over the discourse of American politics. There is some coverage of on the ground organizing, but not much. I would say it's like 95-5. I think it should be the opposite. Who is we? Leftists in general. We can have both conversations, but we need to be having more than having one more often than the other. Yes. It is the royal we. Agreed. Electoralism during election year is the fastest access to power. I disagree.
Sean
That's not
the
power.
Black says she's my African princess.
I don't consider that
Not
power.
_total_bayhem just subscribed.
Right? Every year is an election year. Elections happen every year. But if I want to be less reductive, every 2 years is an election year. You know? We go to see a collab with the grad student union at Howard. I mean, if you have an end, they can reach out. Just don't reach out to my Instagram DMs. I don't look at that. I call myself a socialist or a Marxist. A lot of people who are leftists are just socked in. Like a lot of the YouTubers. Again, I said it earlier. Leftists are supposed to be anti-capitalist, but again, I think the definition of leftist has shifted in a very similar way that the definition of anti-Zionist has shifted. You know, I think they've had very similar shifts. We're all progressives now. What would be the core of leftism? Anti-capitalism. It is a non-negotiable that if you are a leftist, you have to be anti-capitalist. Right? Progressive can mean anything. Right, but it's anti-capitalism. Just to include who? People who are not anti-Zionist. It starts at anti-capitalist, anti-imperialism, and anti-racism, in my opinion. I agree. But I would say like the defining feature of leftism that defines it from or keeps it distinct from liberalism is liberals are pro-capitalism, leftists are anti-capitalism. That is a non-negotiable. That cannot change. Talk about Charlemagne calling himself a dem sock now. We covered it yesterday or last stream. Anyway, let's look at this clip.
Are there any white DSA leaders? No. And that's a good thing. Who cares? It is really funny, though, that everyone's always like, DSA so white, DSA so white. But it's like, dude, literally numbers on the board. DSA is far more diverse, far younger, far more vibrant than anything any other political organization or political movement has ever offered.
All right, yes, yeah. I think, I don't know if ever, but like technically speaking, compared to other political organizations in this country, I mean, I don't know. I don't know the demographics like PSL. Is it PSL right there? I don't know the demographics of PSL. Not really when I get his point. I mean, like, if you compare it to like, I don't know actually. I don't know if I fully agree. Thinking Federation is a national org and it's way less white. And there's also a lot of unions that are also less white. Like a lot of Southern unions that contain a lot of black workers. But yeah, there's a definition that where this is correct technically. He's talking about elected or leaders. Did he speak? I don't know. I don't know actually. I will say DSA is more diverse, like in its candidates, than the organization. The candidates outflank the organization in its diversity. In that regard, right? The organization is overwhelmingly white. The candidates are very diverse.
I live like a capitalist every single day, Jake. I live as a capitalist. Okay? I live when I believe.
Tigwick just
I think the
subscribed.
second he was talking about electeds, Hasan, he misspoke. I do think that's technically true. Leaders are not only candidates. I mean, if you were to look at like the leadership of the DSA, I think I think it is overwhelmingly white. If you're referring to the NPC leadership of the National DSA, there are definitely white people on it. If you're referring to the electeds and candidates that tend to be more diverse in the organization itself, yeah. And maybe that's what he meant. Or that is the case. Is that the candidates outflank the organization in diversity. This is the case. Right? Because most white progressives are not members of the DSA. Again, maybe make it very clear why that is. Most white progressive elected officials are not members of the DSA. That's kind of, yeah, the main point. You know what I mean? But they are allowed to win elections and be absorbed into the movement, right? Even though they're not members of the DSA. Does that make sense? Like people put Graham Plattner, make Graham Plattner like aligned with the DSA, even though Graham Plattner is not a DSA member. You know?
A lot of these countries to tap into their strategic reserves, and they were almost about to run out at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing. We haven't and those are the kinds of ideas.
Yeah. Name 3 DSAs. Like organizations. DSA LA, DSA Philly, DSA New York. Boom. People, I can't do it.
Ideas when you say that, like when you point out that Strait of Hormuz being blocked is what
this is not
gave the U.S. pause and that we could do that same thing. People see that as a possibility. When with Occupy Oakland, for instance, a lot of people, when they hear about the Occupy movement, they hear about New York and stuff. But Occupy Oakland was a little different in the sense that it was started by radicals. Like they saw what was happening in New York. They were like, let's do something here using that same name. And so there was a general strike called for, and it wasn't a real general strike, but because that idea was put out there and there was a week to do it, and it was put out there in a huge way, a lot more. I saw a lot more people out at that than I had seen at anything before, because they thought it was something, a way to win. So we had 50,000 people, gather in a week. After calling for it in a week, 50,000 people gathered under the banner of death to capitalism because they thought that shutting down the city actually could get some power. Now, it was a one-day thing. It was symbolic. It wasn't going to get a win, but it was something that seeded an idea in people's heads. And we're seeing that with, obviously, with what happened in Minneapolis. So now to the electoral thing, if what you're telling me is that, so I look at it back, I go backwards. Okay. What we need is a world in which the people democratically control the wealth that we create with our labor. Now, that's going to take, which is communism. And that's going to take a certain kind of struggle in order to get there. Now, what we know from the USSR and even Cuba is that they had to have massive strikes. It was not only part of how they won, but it was part of how the working class was able to be educated and able to participate. And so for folks that don't, you know, there were tens of millions of people involved in strikes in the USSR from the early 1900s to 1917. A lot of people don't talk about in Cuba. It wasn't just Fidel and Che and them coming in. There was a general strike happening.
There were also there were communist groups in Havana that were participating in sequence with general strikes.
Yeah.
Even though obviously there was the militancy aspect of it from the 13 that remained.
Yeah.
It takes every force, in my opinion. Everyone has a role to play in this process.
Bro, what are y'all talking about? I looked down for 2 seconds. Why are y'all arguing? Can we not listen to whatever Booth Riley's talking about? Communism. He's talking about communism, guys. We all love communism, right?
And all of those things where, like, sometimes people will break down revolutions and be like, this person was, to the right of that person. They were both all radical, but it took all of that in order to make a mass movement. And I think there's ways to do it more strategically and more in line. But
can I also say, he's like the inverse Pharrell, this hat. Pharrell's hat goes like this. Who's Riley's hat goes like this.
If we're talking about getting
Stop!
Hundreds of millions of people.
No, he did it. No, he did it. Bro, never had an original thought in my freaking mind.
Involved in something, then, far be it from me to be like, I might say that's not where I want to put my energy, but I'm not going to be like, that's not, especially at this point, because right now, there's a lot of, I'll tell you what, like when I became a communist when I was 15, there were very few in the United States. And it's such a good thing to see that now there's, like, if you look online, I don't know, maybe there's millions, but I don't know. People that call themselves that. But what we don't have are parties and organizations that people are in. They're just kind of like, I subscribe to that idea, and they're maybe in their house by themselves and not connecting. And so we need...
I mean, this is true. This is correct.
Things for people to get involved in. We need and winnable things, winnable actions for folks to get involved.
What do you... So thank you for the 11 months, by the way. And totally not Bayham. Thank you for the tier 1.
See this question. Sorry to cut you off, but what do you think about Zoran?
Yeah, so here's the thing, and this goes with and I
question.
haven't.
Did Hasan ask him about the Geese article? Did Hasan ask him about the Geese article? He wanted to so bad. He didn't, but I thought he would. Dang it.
been following, honestly, I haven't been following what's happened since he got elected because I've been in this cave of getting this done. But I think here the big lesson is, and this is what I've always said, and I'm sure you said this, like when Trump got elected, a lot of people, even radicals, got very depressed, like because it was like, oh, half the country is fascist or whatever. But
technically speaking, it's a third of the country. So a third didn't vote.
Always said, even before Trump, that most people don't vote. And most people don't vote.
That's what I said. I thought almost 50%. No. It's 33%. Around 33 to 34% of the eligible voting population voted for Donald Trump. Right? Around 32 to 33% of the eligible voting population voted for Kamala Harris. 33% did not vote. It's literally split like that. Like, give or take a few million for like independents and or like the third party voters or whatever. Like it's around like 30 to 33% don't vote. Dude, you're the one who had this conversation with this man. I think he's a time traveler. He's stealing my takes. No, my color pencil broke when I dropped it by accident. Gosh freaking dilly darn it. Sorry.
That most people don't vote. And most people don't vote because they're to the left of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Like if you're
even
right.
if they don't have the political expression.
Yeah,
like,
they're not going to use the words. Yeah.
Yeah, they would never be like, I'm a socialist or I'm a communist or anything. But like if you were to ask them, like, would you like a Democratic?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Workplace, they'd be like, where you get to work
Where
and
you own
you control
the
your
wealth.
own control your own productive output. They'd be like, that makes total sense.
They will agree
So basically, a
to the
three-way
idea.
through a tie. Basically, they should have given Donna Kamala co-presidentship and had no president for 1/3 of the time, which would be the good old days. True.
Yeah, if you
want the label.
Yeah, if you're to the right of the Republican Party, you're still voting Republican. So we can say that. And then a good number of the Democrats that voted Democrat are just holding their nose, and they are to the left of the Democratic Party as well. So most people are
also, chat, I want to point out, I am 9 subscriptions away from reaching my Partner Plus level 2 for the month of June. So I would appreciate it.
If you looked at their politics, it would be defined as radical. It'd be defined as radical left. Now, they might not be involved in the actions that make them that, but that's what they believe. That. Yeah. And and that's a large part of what I do with my art is that, after that first album, it was all about, I'm putting these ideas out there. I don't care what words I'm using. I'm not talking to them.
You know, they give her the get this up.
If you listen to my stuff, a lot of people said that our stuff wasn't political even in the 90s because I wasn't talking to people that thought they were revolutionary. You know, you have the
Cortex, thank you for the gifted sub as well.
One sub to Ball Chops.
And a hype train is incoming too. Yo, son, thank you for the gifted sub as well. Wait, chat. Can somebody tell me, is there a discount for subs? I'm pretty sure I thought there was a discount for 5 subs or more. Am I wrong on this?
I live like a capitalist every single day.
I thought Twitch did a discount for subs.
I live when I believe.
Ben Fish just subscribed. Natty Berix gifted a tier 1 sub
for
to
June.
Raven of the Void _
Pride Month. Oh, it's June 25th. It's next week. Twitch is running a 35% shared discount on 5+ gifted from June 25th to July 3rd. But I won't be streaming during that. Oh, also, spoiler, I won't be streaming during this time. I'm going to be moving. So you probably get one more stream from me before July. Don't move. My lease is literally ending. I have to go somewhere. So they basically have permanent treasure train. Technically, the discounts came first. Treasure train was basically the discounts made as like a hype train kind of thing. One gaming stream, please, before then. Oh no, I have to do a gaming stream before then because I have a sponsorship I need to do. Technically, I have 2 sponsorships I need to do. One's not a gaming though. One's a movie or something. Stream the move.
I was about to go get the Henny.
Where are we moving next? Bro, we're not going nowhere, chat. Y'all are staying here. Ben Fish, thank you for the 38 months. It's crazy. That's a long time. Maddie Boy, thank you for the gifted sub. And King Brokens, thank you for the 5 gifted subs as well. And a level 2 hype train has started. That's taking us to the new place. Okay, I'll leak it. Not my place, obviously. I'm not gonna dox myself. I chose the first place. The place that has 2 bedrooms.
The Black says she's my African princess.
So,
Soft like a bunny just subscribed. Less than 3.
the stream room is coming back. And I will be doing a stream where chat can design my stream room. So I'll open up Amazon. I'll give chat a budget. And I will let chat pick stuff for the stream room. If we reach 1,000 subs. Sorry, got him. We have to hit 1,000 subs for that to be the case. 1,000 subs. If we don't get there, chat's not designing anything. In the stream room, it's 8 by 11 like a sheet of paper.
I live like a capitalist every single day, Shank.
Alligator, thank you for the 12 months. Soft like a bunny, thank you for the prime 6 months. W. Chat, your primes are free. Your primes are free anyway, right? Do I have to go check how many subs Hasan has? I'll do it. $21,000 active paid subs. 46,000 subs in total.
I did everything right and they
He won't miss your
indicted
prime,
me.
chat. I'm just saying. He won't miss your prime. I don't know if you heard that. That was my stomach. It was rumbling.
I was about to go get that Henny.
Nuggy Neutron, thank you for the 200 bits. Raw Girth Minerals, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Much appreciated. High Train level 4 has started. Sean Drawn, thank you for the 5 gifted subs as well. High Train level 5 has started, has been achieved.
I was about to go get the Henny.
This is craziness. It's at least $1 million a year. For Hasan, that's like $1 million a month.
I was about to go get the Henny.
Maybe not that much. Actually, no, you can do the math. Hold on.
I live like a capitalist every single day, Shank. I live as a capitalist, okay? I live when I believe.
Ergor just subscribed.
No, it's not. Hold on. That's like $250,000 a month. But, oops.
I was about to go get the Henny.
That's, we say 3.3 million. But for ad revenue, it's basically, hold on, let me check. Ben Fish, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Macro Media Shockwave Flash, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Eargore, thank you for the 2-month resubscription. Hold on. Oh, Hasan doesn't run ads. So let's check his ads. He doesn't run ads. What is alerts? I can't even hear it. I turned it off because it was too loud. Hoagie Buns, thank you for the 2 months.
I live as a capitalist, okay? I live when I believe.
Wait, Twitch auto snoozed my ads? I didn't know it can do that. It's political now. That's ad rev big time. Yeah, you know you can thank for that? Ethan Klein, by the way. please don't run ads. Yo, just go to YouTube. Yo, if okay, let me let you in a little secret, chat. I multi-stream. If ads hit you, just go ahead and open up the YouTube in a second tab so I can keep getting my ad money. And Asmin, it was mostly Ethan though. Asmin was definitely a part of it. And sub, I guess you can do that too. I forgot you multi-stream sometimes because nobody else does it, which I get. Okay, I will say this, and I'll get back to this in a second. I understand why nobody else does it, because at first I used to get like 10 viewers on YouTube, right? I used to get 10 viewers on YouTube, but having done it for
about to go get that,
I don't know, about 6 months now, consistently, I now pull in 60 YouTube viewers a month, or not a month, a stream. Right? Sometimes 70, sometimes 80, sometimes 100. So basically right now I'm at like 767, stupid number, of viewers. I'm actually basically at like 800 if you combine YouTube chat. You know? Jim fan account give her the 10 gifted subs as well. Light train help, like hype train level 7. We were just at hype train level 6 and now we're at hype train level. What? Is it banned? Yes. Yes, it is banned. I got you on YouTube, on my TV, and Twitch on my phone. W. I sub on Twitch and watch on YouTube. W. Best chatters. It's interesting. Why would you ban our language? Needs to get banned for saying it? Yeah, this is true.
Like the gear.
Which ads pay more. I have both turbo and premium. I don't get paid anything from YouTube. I don't get paid off of videos on YouTube. I don't get paid off of ads on YouTube. Right? I'm mostly demonetized, and if I'm not demonetized, my videos don't do that well on YouTube. Right? I make the most money off of Twitch. I'll let you on a little secret on Twitch ads. I get paid just from my ads the equivalent roughly of about $8 to $10 an hour from the ads. With the subs, it's the equivalent of making, I think, around $35, $40 an hour. Right? On like on average. Some months I make a lot more money. Some months I make really poor money. I used to watch you on YouTube. Oh, thank you, Chatter. I appreciate that.
And things like that. But a lot of my stuff was just talking to people.
I don't hide how much money I make on Twitch. Right? I'm extremely privileged to be on Twitch. Yo, you go think for the raid. Hello, welcome in, Raiders. You came in at a perfect time because there's actually a hype train going on right now. So, and at 1,000 subs, I'm letting my my audience pick and decide my new stream when I move to DC. But I hope you had a good stream. What did I do? What you talking about? What is going on?
Sean the Black says she's my African.
So you got hacked on Twitter, and then I think the hacked person sent me a DM. I almost clicked on the link. I almost did it.
I live as a capitalist. Okay? I live when I believe.
Yeah, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. You know, I appreciate that.
Subscribed. Ray K Shaky.
Huge W. A coin. It was actually like, basically, it was like, I'm up for this this award thing.
About to go get that.
Please click on this link to vote for me. And I was like, wait a minute. Hold on a second. I almost did it. I was like, sure, yeah, I'm down. I I got it back? I W. Okay.
Let's go hype train.
Sorry. No, you're good. I saw the crypto tweet and I thought, bro, lost it. I was like, you know what? It'd be like that sometimes. Luckily, that's how they get you. I didn't click it. I did see the tweet though. I didn't click it. I did think about it for a second though.
I was about to go get that.
Kay, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Chris, thank you for the 4 months. Much appreciated. We break the cards at level 10. One shot really wants you to. That's not happening. If you really want to make money, it's easy. Just a Roblox devs and say how much money they make off pure slap. I am aware. I've seen the Roblox devs bank accounts. And so just regular people I'd sell crypto scams. Yeah. Just something that comes on the screen when people give 5. What does it say? Like a burst of your emotes? Is that a thing? I didn't see it. Somebody clip it. Sometimes you gotta go, you go crazy and sell crypto. Honestly, that's what happened to Jasmine Crockett.
They're at.
I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying? Oh yeah. She gets to design my stream room. It's gonna be a no, she doesn't sell crypto. I was a joke. It was a joke. She does not sell crypto. She was just very big on like black men need to get into crypto or whatever. I'm gonna turn my second bedroom into a content room. So you may get more YouTube videos from me as well. And I'm also thinking, hear me out, chat. I'm thinking about turning it into a podcast room. And starting a podcast. That's right. With Zora Mamdani. Zeros will be streaming at school? No. Another man with a podcast? And a sure has some 7B. Trying to get any baddies in the podcast room? The baddies are going to love my podcast room, okay? Hop off. Is there a sale on podcast equipment? I already own it. Podcasts are like Andrew Schultz. Why'd you go to Andrew Schultz? No, they're not. What do you mean? They're gonna love it. They do love it actually. They do love my podcast room. Also, okay. 8 seconds on the hype train, chat. 8 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I live like a capitalist every single day.
Party Pug, thank you for the prime though. I saw it, even if the hype train didn't.
Party Pug 3000 just subscribed.
Once you use the second room as a safe space for marginalized voices, really showing your privilege. This is true. This is my privilege being shown. What was I saying? Oh, I was gonna say last thing I was saying. Genuine question, okay?
I did everything right.
Can I see my ex before I leave? Okay. I don't know why I'm asked. I'm gonna do it anyway. Guys, again, what do you mean? Why are you asking? I don't know. Didn't hear you? That's fine. You don't need to hear me. So then he dried you out? That's fine. It's fine. I already have my answer.
Now,
as a therapist,
with Mom Don,
my therapist would agree. My therapist would support my decisions.
It proved that everybody wants. It proved how against Israel most people
It's
are.
way too loud. I don't even know how to turn it down. I'm sorry. Alert. Boom. Right, like they were 100 bits. W. Your therapist, ChatGPT, Henry. We call him Henry here.
I was about to go get that Henny.
Shouldn't go think of the 10 gifted subs. Much appreciated.
And how much people hate the genocide that's happening there.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. But it also proved that people want these ideas. People want a world. They want they might call it socialist, they might call it whatever, but they want this world that has been demonized. And so someone coming out and just being straight about that got people to vote that never would have voted before. Got people to vote that so
I checked on my
that shows where that is.
Listen, I know the feeling. This is why I need a baddie in DC. Who got some baddie friends in DC? I will say I set my Hinge to DC. I think I told the story before. I set my Hinge to DC, and one of the first people that popped up on my feed was a girl that I talked to who was extremely toxic when I was in college. And the worst part, I considered it. Listen. Maybe she got better. Probably not. Probably not. But it's toxic in a way that, like, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, maybe. Just think about it. Just think about it, you know? You don't understand my life, Chad. You're not my dad.
Now, I'm hoping, again, like I said, I haven't followed like what's been successful so far.
No, she doesn't go to Howard. She goes to a different school. I will say, no, what? I won't. I was going to say something that would have doxed me. So I won't say that. She just goes to a different school. Maybe surrounded by Howard baddies. But I need Howard grad school baddies. I don't want like undergrad baddies. You know what I mean? I'm too old for undergrad. I'm like firmly grad school age now. They will be there too. They better. Charlie, they give her the 2 months. And Alpaca Pete, they give her the 6 months in advance.
Just subscribed.
But I think that is it is a launching point that has changed.
Frat party. Bro, I didn't go to frat parties when I was in undergrad. Do you genuinely think that I'm going to spend my like the few years left in my middle-aged life around a bunch of freshmen willingly? Silly. If you're gonna do that, that's what the second bedroom is for. What is wrong with you?
How people think about the world around you.
I'm actually 25. You see any baddies when you visited? Yes, actually I did. I did actually. You're good? Yeah, but I didn't. I saw some baddies when I was touring apartments, but I didn't choose the apartment that I saw the baddies in, unfortunately. Is it a party room? Why are we decorating it? Because it's a content room. They're everywhere. We'll see about that.
Right? And that is really important because what I've seen happens is we might have these ideas about having this different world or about what we believe about it, but we mitigate what we think is possible based on what we think everyone else thinks, right? So all those people that went to work on Wall Street, they didn't think it could happen. They didn't think anybody would believe. They might have believed in some sort of vague thing like Rage talks about, and could have been one to a revolutionary party.
27, I don't count them out. I think you're an exception to the rule. I want to have a general rule where I'm not even going to speak to undergrads unless I'm a TA, in which case I will be the professor, in which case I make money teaching. There's data politician. I would rather I will do how old are people when they go to college in the U.S.? Any age, really. As you graduated undergrad, 26, all of my classmates were like 19. Seniors undergrad are like 21, 22. That's not weird. That's weird to me. I'm not dating somebody who's 22 years old. What do we have in common? Nothing. That's what. My age is 24 to 32. That's my age range. And it's negotiable on the upper end. Which means for acting wise, I like to say it's mature. 32 is too old for me. 32 is so random. Or I might be 33 now. Hold on. How old is... Okay, now like 30, around 30 is around a decent age. Would you just Google? What do you mean? Traditional age is like 18, 22 with some cutoff at 26 because most people stop getting more education at 25. More students are non-traditional these days. Yeah.
But they didn't think it could happen, and that has to do with what they think everyone around them thinks. And so I think that there actually was a sea change that happened with that election where, you know, a lot of people around the country were surprised that.
Hold on, I have another one. Yeah, 24 is good. 24, decent age. That's my lowest. 24, 32. That's my range. You have to come canvas doors with us at, from 10 to 1 p.m. tomorrow morning. In DC, I'm not in DC. So I can't do that, unfortunately.
There would be
Florida. I've never gone to Florida. No offense.
People open to those politics. And so just from that standpoint alone, and I said that at the time that would be a victory.
Miami? No.
From people just saying, wow, someone that.
Okay, y'all are just not paying attention. Y'all started talking about something else totally different. You're not paying attention to the actual meat of the conversation. How long? This goes on for 2 hours. We're not gonna watch the entire thing. I do like what we did see so far, though. I think every day I didn't choose to go to grad school in Florida. W. We're not paying attention? Yeah, you're not. Wait, Shia Raichik is not 31 years old. You're a liar. She's at least 40. She's at least 40. Is she? Yes, she is. Stop. I don't believe you. Extremely touchable. That's interesting name. Thank you for the 2 months.
Just subscribed.
No, I guarantee it. I thought she was 43. So did I. So 1995 here. I'm pretty sure this was the whole thing when she debated Taylor Lorenz. Did I just make that up? In her 30s? Yo, my bad. She's 5 years older than I am. At the very least, I can think that at least I'm not spending my life like Shia Raichik is spending her life. Okay, stop. I'm not even gonna dignify that with a response. You don't even get a response from me. I'm not even going to read it. Younger than Taylor, crazy. Sounds vaguely familiar. I don't keep up with Child's facts in my long-term memory. Me neither. Maybe I just made it up. I think there's a chance I just made it up. You know what I was supposed to do today? I was supposed to. No, we can still do it. All right. We're going to put this on the back burner. We talked about. Oh, we didn't talk about progressive victory yet. No, maybe we'll save it for another day. I'm a tad tired. But. Hold on. It is time. I'm gonna install something. It's not birthday card time. And watch Sean die in a video game over and over. Hey! Suck my nuts. We're playing Barber Rivals. It is indeed Cyclops time. It is Spawn day. Also, sorry. Bye, YouTube chat. No Spawn for you because they're not paying me to stream on YouTube. Goodbye.